is 7 o'clock.
Still nothing. Still nothing. Okay. Pretend I'm on the phone.
How's the weather down there?
It's fine. Sunny.
Oh, you're in Florida?
We have about a minute to go, guys.
I am.
Oh, I'm jealous.
I'll be back soon.
I'm in Peabody. Are you jealous?
I miss Peabody.
And review, rename. Weird. My name's up there, but I cannot.
Did you look around the border of the screen to see a stop video?
Yeah, no, I've got that. I got that, and once I click on that to stop it,
Well, you want to start.
it didn't help.
Stu, did you launch it from your browser?
Did I what?
Never mind.
You guys, it's 7 o'clock. Do we want to just move on? 7:01 at this point.
All right. Ready to start, everybody?
Yep.
Okay. We got.
Well, I think you have to wait for PAT to give you the word.
Okay, I'll wait.
You guys are good to go.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Peabody Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, March 8th. We have on board Vice Chairman Mike Rizzo, Secretary Mike Vivaldi, Commissioner Bruce Comack, Commissioner Arthur Athis, Commissioner Amanda Green. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is the famous disclaimer. Peabody Conservation Commission hearings will be held remotely until March 31, 2023. It's coming. Remote participation is allowed in accordance with Section 20 of Chapter 22 of the Acts of the 2021, signed into law by Governor Baker on February 12 of 2022, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law something 30A, section 18 is extended by section 20, chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022. Individuals may participate remotely in a meeting via remote participation in a platform called Zoom. Members of the audience or the public are requested to raise their hand to be noticed for speaking. I don't see participants. No, we have, okay, there's a bunch of people on board. All right. First up, I believe,
Stu,
is
someone is
huh?
someone
First
had-
up is extension request. A request from attorney Stephen Singer for Carl Krupe, trustee of Little Hills Realty Trust, for an extension to the order of conditions for DEP file 55673. The order expires on March 15, 2023. The project is a two-lot subdivision consisting of two single-family houses on separate lots. The reason for ongoing extension is due to land court issues unrelated to wetlands. He's asking for a 3-year extension under the state regulations and asking for a waiver of Peabody's local ordinance. 1-year extensions allowed The property is known as 1 Antonio Drive, map 106, lot 88 in Peabody, Mass. Is Carl here? Oh, I'm sorry, Steven Singer.
I'm here.
You're on. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry to say I'm back here again, members of the commission, but we haven't been able to finish the work in the land court. And as a result of that, we're asking for the 3-year extension and the waiver under the local ordinance. This relates to actually, it's a boundary issue. It's an engineering issue. It's been an ongoing engineering issue involving the former layout of Old Linfield Street, which is part of the lot that is to be developed where this order of conditions has been imposed.
Typically, and I don't have a precedent for this, we don't usually grant 3-year extensions. In this case, I think, well, my notes say the order of conditions were issued on May 15th, 2007, and it's now 16 years old.
Well, I can't, when this order was initially granted, this project had not gotten to the point where the matter of Old Linfield Street had been addressed. And I got involved in the project after the subdivision itself had been approved, after the order of conditions had been approved. And it took some number of years. We had the Essex County Commission had been disbanded, and we had to wait for legislation, special legislation, and then actual state legislation to find a replacement agency to abandon or discontinue, rather, the remaining portion of Old Linfield Street, which included a portion of this particular lot, unfortunately. Had that not been the case, we would have been able to proceed with the construction of this house some time ago. But for one issue that did come up when the discontinuance took place, and that was the land court's interpretation of how the abandoned portion of Old Linfield Street was to be split among the abutting property owners. A portion of this had been done back in late 1980s with an abutting owner who since sold the property. And the way the line of abandonment was back then was at an angle. The land court, in our case, interpreted that line to be a straight line down the middle of the property, which effectively leaves a portion of this lot to one side and technically belonging to the abutter, and vice versa. We've been trying to resolve that issue of this boundary for some time, and continue to try to do so without any need for litigation. That's been the holdup here.
Anybody on the Concom wish to comment? No?
We just want to be able to build this house.
Yeah.
That's it.
Do we have the latest plans, whether the line's diagonal or straight?
Well, the lot line itself, as it was engineered and approved by the planning board, tracked the former taking plan, which dates back into the late 80s. And that's when there was the property that's on the corner of Bartholomew and what was, or is, Linfield Street. A portion of this old Linfield Street was abandoned at that time. There was a line that was created and approved by the commissioners at that time. Unfortunately, they didn't take into account the fact that this was in fact registered land, And by the land court's interpretation, you can't abandon a line of fee ownership in a way at an angle. If you have two abutting properties, then the line of division is the center line between the two properties at a line that's perpendicular. And this is not the case here. And it's a small piece that should go to the abutter and vice versa. And I've been working on a boundary line agreement on this to resolve it and hopefully put it through the land court and get it approved.
How long do you think that'll take?
Well, I thought it would take less time than it did, but if this thing doesn't resolve itself, it could take up to the 3 years that's being requested.
I'm gonna suggest a 1-year extension at this point. And I guess I'd like to hear from you before the year is up as to how we're doing.
Okay,
Because this is to leave it open like it's been open, it's gonna be 20 years old. The people will have really buried there. It's like taking way too long. Do we hear a motion? Do we have a motion for
The question,
extending?
question two, Stu,
Go ahead.
for the applicant, is it one lot or is it the whole subdivision?
no, it's one lot. One lot, as you come into on Antonio Drive, it's the right-hand side where there is no house right now. And that it abuts an adjacent property there where there is a dwelling on it, but it's just it's the right-hand side as you come into Antonio Drive.
Yeah, I see it on the GIS map. And that used to be part of Old Linfield Street? Or was?
Yeah, there's the front portion of that lot. Yes. About looking at what the lot consists of, it's about 50% of that lot was in Old Linfield Street. Part of it, yeah.
And what's the status of, is that pond is still on the property, or is that no longer there? Or what's the status of that wetland? That's why you filed a NOI, I suppose, the order of conditions?
There's a pond in the back there, I believe.
Yep. Okay, so it's still there?
Yeah.
I support the chairman's recommendation.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Due to the fact this is a Zoom call, we need a roll call vote.
Yep. So is that a motion is a 1-year extension, asking Attorney Singer to report back to us in what, 6 months from today?
Yes.
9 months?
9 months?
9 months. 9 months with, yeah.
9
right, so
months?
that- All right, 9 months from today. So whatever that is, I'll Attorney Singer, I'll have it all written out for you. Don't worry.
That's fine. Thank
So
you.
that
Yeah.
was made by Commissioner Vivaldi, seconded by Commissioner Rizzo. Roll call. Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes,
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
All right, so that passes unanimously 6-0.
Yeah, I guess in 9 months, besides coming before us, if you can communicate through Lucia's status, that would be helpful.
Understood.
And have a good night.
All right. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. Take care, folks.
Number 2, a certificate of compliance for a full certificate of compliance request was made by John Dick for the property owners, George and Nancy Capeller, on DEP file number 55883. The project was construction of additions of existing single-family home to including removal and relocation of existing sheds and relocation of paved area. The address is known as 1 Hoover Terrace, map 24, lot 38, Peabody, Mass. Notes show that there are some minor deviations from the original approved plans. Concrete walk on Hoover Ave side was not approved. The concrete patio in the rear was also not approved and is close to the no disturb marker. The addition to the south was never constructed. See letter from engineering regarding deviations. The Concom you can require that you do planting along the river. The riverfront, this is a riverfront and a flood area. Did you get out to the site, Lucia?
I did. Yep, and I promoted John. Wait, well, now my camera's not working. There it is. I promoted John Dick. He is the wetland scientist, and Mr. Kapler. So what I noted was the shed work was not finished, so you definitely don't want to give them a full certificate. I couldn't confirm that the grass was fully grown in because I didn't realize they still had snow on the ground. Holy smart. What is that white stuff? I've never seen it before. So there was snow on the ground and I honestly wasn't expecting it. And there is a gigantic landscape pile. I sent you guys some pictures and I think you guys should talk about that. And I'll put it over to John Dick if you want him to show the as-built plan. I would suggest that John goes over the deviations just so you guys can see it on the plan.
Let me see what I can do with share screen.
If you need me to, I can, John. I don't mind.
Yeah, I think that's probably safer, Lucia. Every time I do this, something goes wrong. A brief forward to this. We were surprised not only by the amount of snow on the ground, but by the fact that although when I filed this request for a certificate of compliance, I thought the electrical service to the shed would be completed, the trench is still open. So I'd like to kick this down the road to the next hearing in order for basically for that line to be installed and the site to be backfilled. We would then seed it as soon as the season begins and leave the silt fence in place. But in the meantime, Lucia has pointed out that there is a large compost pile right along the edge of the river at the rear of the lot behind the swimming pool. And since there is a minor increase in impervious footprint, although we have enough recharge to accommodate that increase, it encroaches upon the 50-foot no disturb by, I think, 3 inches. It's virtually unmeasurable, and it's a fairly small area. I think it's in the nature of 190 square feet, something like that, larger than what we propose. But I'd like to, in conjunction with the remediation of the, there we go. In conjunction with the remediation of the waste material, I'd like to contemplate the possibility of doing some plantings back there. If you look at the plan, I've got a pointer. I don't know if you're seeing it or not. I'm pointing to wetland flag A4, and you will note wetland flag A4 and the entire area of the fill is north of wetland flag A4. That's not on the Kapler lot. It is their yard. There isn't anybody else maintaining that as a yard. They mow out into that area. It belongs to the city of Peabody, so I think perhaps we should send an enforcement order to the city of Peabody for that material. And I'm being a little facetious there. Clearly, it is the Kapler's yard that's being cleared and maintained out there as a compost pile. And what I would suggest is that we go out there, we remove as much of it as is practical to remove. I have no idea. They've been there for 35 years. I expect that pile has been there for 35 years. But that we go out, we remove what can be readily removed to restore some semblance of grade out in that area, and that we plant it, and that be considered the remediation for the 0.3 of a foot encroachment upon the resource, and for the additional impervious footprint. That would involve an amendment to the order of conditions. In fact, I think it might it might require a request for a determination of applicability because technically it's not the Kapler's property. I'd be interested to know what the Conservation Commission's disposition is there. I'm sort of hovering over the area where the compost pile is now. It's a big area.
Can you or Lucia make that screen bigger?
Not me.
So you said the compost pile has been there for 35 years?
I suspect that it's an Alice's restaurant kind of situation where the Kaplers basically, when they bought the house, started mowing their lawn and looking around for a place to get rid of the material, and there was a pile of compost out by the edge of the wetland. They did not buy the house as built, as I understand it. Someone else was in there before them. So my suspicion is that that's been a yard for as long as the Kaplers have owned the house, and in fact, for as long as the house has been on the site. This subdivision was built, I believe, in the 70s. And yeah, until I looked at the plan tonight, I did not realize that that compost pile is entirely on City of Peabody land, technically.
All right, so are you guys asking for a certificate of compliance anymore, or are you just asking for a continuance because we have a really long agenda?
That's exactly what I'm asking for, is a continuance until we can sort out what the area is that's impacted and how we're going to go about seeking permission to restore it. Because it's City of Peabody land, it can't be granted as an amendment to this order of conditions. They don't own the land.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to continue.
Do we hear a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
That motion was made by Amanda, seconded by Mr. Rizzo, correct?
Correct.
Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes,
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
All right, so that passes unanimously.
We'll see
Thank
you
you.
next month.
I apologize for the goat rodeo. I'll try to get my stuff together by the next time I see you.
Maybe before, because we might come out when the snow is gone.
That would be good as soon as it gets clear, which might be the end of the week. Thank
All
you.
right. I'll have Lucia contact you and we'll come out for a site visit.
Most excellent. Thank you and good
Okay.
night.
Thank you. Good night. Number 3, request for a full certificate of compliance is made by Mohammed Haque, is it, for Boston Muslim Cemetery, and DEP file 55878. Project was various activities related to the creation of a cemetery, including grading, retaining wall construction, path installation, and landscaping for a green type of burial. The address is known as 530 Lowell Street, map 35, 27A, Peabody, Mass. The contractor infringed into the 25 no disturb zone, and there was a wall constructed, I guess. So, a couple of questions: who is here for the
I am.
cemetery?
Mr. Chairman, John Kelty,
Hi, Jack.
on behalf of the applicant, and I would like to kind of clarify a couple of issues. The cemetery was issued a special permit by the city council, and then that was followed by a filing with the Conservation Commission. You folks issued an order of conditions. It was then discovered that not only did the special permit need to issue from the city council, but in fact, the Board of Health needed to give a permit, which I want to say that in the early couple of years ago, when we began this project, I don't think it was even realized by the Board of Health that they needed to permit this as well, because I don't think Peabody has permitted a cemetery from scratch in the last 100 years. So we filed with the Board of Health, and during our deliberations and during our working our way through the Board of Health, the consultant, Mr. Doyle, for the Board of Health, kept referring to the need for a certificate of compliance, which proved to be really they're unrelated items. But my clients engaged the services of a different engineer, not Hayes Engineering and Anthony Capichetti, in order to place a plan before the board, which was an attempt to obtain a full certificate of compliance. Since those efforts, Hayes Engineering produced an as-built plan, and that as-built plan does show the encroachments that the chairman Lazaris has mentioned just before I began to speak. That plan is dated May 26, 2022. It has some notations where we have encroached on a no-build area. We had agreed when we had identified the wetlands, the commission agreed with our wetland identification done by Libby of Hayes Engineering. And it turns out that our contractor went over the line in certain places, and then in other areas, he didn't get as close as he could have. So I would suggest in general, there was a give and a take. I believe that pure square footage wise, we took more than we gave. But having said that, I don't believe that we have damaged any wetland. I don't think that the wetland is dishonored, disrespected by the location of our wall. I'm not seeking any certificate, full or partial, because we actually don't have a need. We got our permits. We're going to have permit amended as to whether we can use a certain kind of vault. That information is being continually shared. Everything that we're filing with the Board of Health, we're filing with the Conservation Commission. I think your principal concern is that the green burial continue to be pursued, which is at its basic. We're not using chemicals that are at all damaging to the environment, nor are we using any of the processes that would take us away from green burial. We're going next week to the Board of Health to see if we can use a certain kind of vault that comes in two pieces. It was originally thought that it would have a one-piece lid. The Board of Health is going to consider, and I believe approve, a two-piece lid for our vaults. I would like tonight to be an effort to achieve an understanding with the Conservation Commission that we can leave our wall where it is, seek from the commission whether or not you would like to see us enhance any of the areas near the wall, or make improvements anywhere on the property to sort of even the score with respect to where we've taken and where we've given. So we're happy to listen to any recommendation that the board may make this evening, but we would like we would like the board to address whether our as-built plan as to the actual location of the wall will be acceptable to the commission, and we'll continue to move on. And then after our plantings are completed, we would seek the appropriate certificate of compliance. But I think as a threshold question, and one that is important to the commission and to us, is the question of, are our encroachments able to be overlooked, and should there be some kind of activity undertaken by us in the form of planting or otherwise, which would provide some sort of compensatory status for the small areas where we've located the wall a little bit too close to the buffer area.
Through the chair.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Jack,
Bruce?
we can't, you're asking us, say, well, we want a little there and a little there. Somebody can calculate it. I mean, just because you say it's a little over, that's fine. It's a little over here and a little under here.
I think there is a
What's the
calculation.
net? I mean, it's, obviously somebody can calculate what the net difference is. As far as,
I believe that has been done. I believe that Tony did do that calculation. Because it seems as though it would be easily done if you're any good at math, if you looked at his 526 plan, and I'm not particularly good at math. But just let me review my.
Could they do an overlay to see physically?
Oh, no, he's got a plan that shows where we encroach. So
Oh.
that's been identified. And he shows in red and yellow the distances and the areas where we are. So to Bruce's question, we could easily calculate what's been, it's not dead even, and it's to our disadvantage. I know we took a little more than we gave, in the sense there's areas where we didn't get as close as we could have, and there are areas where we went beyond where we should have. And those are all depicted on that 526-22 plan that was filed with the board.
that's right. So but Jack, is it 50 square feet or 1,000 square feet? That's what I want to
Yeah,
know.
And Jack, I don't know if you explained it, and maybe I missed it, but how was there an error? Why was there an error in reading the plans?
I think failure of the contractor to either pay attention to the plan, or failure of the contractor to do what the precisely what the plan called for. I don't think there's any particularly. I don't think there's a valid excuse for it. I think in retrospect, we picked the wrong contractor.
Do you have that? Do you have that visual?
Number?
Do you have the visual on that you said that shows the differences between the two, like an overlay?
Yeah, that's the.
Through the chair, I think MD has his hand raised, and MD, you're the new engineer, correct?
No, I am one of the
He's on the board.
trustees from Boston Muslim Cemetery. I do have the plan as a build plan. I can share and kind of show you where the encroachment and everything if you want.
Okay, I'd like to see that.
All right, let me share my screen. Let me know when you can see it.
Okay, I see it.
So I think the expectation was make sure there is a 25 feet, but as you can see, there's 22.9, 23 here, 23.5, and then we do have 21.9, this corner right here. We have 24.8, and then here also 21.7, but most of the other areas was 25.
Okay.
Just wanted to kind of add that we did visit the area with Lucia once, and we tried to add some plantation and grass. Didn't really work out great because of the water we didn't have. So if you were to give us the full certificate and kind of tell us what exactly you want us to do, we'll definitely get that done come in next few months.
MD and we're not going to get a certificate.
Okay.
Because we're not in compliance. But as a threshold question, I'm trying to resolve the issue for you, MD, as to whether we rip out this wall and start from scratch, or is it somewhat acceptable with perhaps some massaging, if you will? And that's why I'm here. So I'm not asking for partial or full. I'm asking to address the board to address the issue of the wall, and we can continue on.
And through the chair, right now you guys are trying to get in front of ZBA for the shed over in the corner, correct?
No, we've withdrawn that. We're not going to file for
Uh-oh.
a shed at all.
Okay,
That's you're correct. That's what was holding something up, but
Okay.
we decided not to do that. Andy, wasn't there a number attached to this square footage that we had encroached upon? I'm looking through the file and I can't find that from Tony.
Yes, I have to look through my email.
Okay. No,
No,
Mhm.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe.
yeah, no, I couldn't find it either. I think there's a lot of emails in there.
If that is of significant, or I'm sorry, it is of significant, but if it's of paramount importance that we get that figure and bring it back to you, we can do that.
Yeah, I would
Through
like
the
to see
chair,
that.
Fine.
why don't we do that? Why don't we wait for that number, continue this until they get that number? And
Yeah, I
then we
think
can-
that'd be the best.
We can think about it in the meantime as to how we're gonna deal with it.
Mhm.
I have a
If you're-
question. I have a question as well to Jack.
Yeah, go ahead.
The question is that looking through the documents, is it, I don't see an operation and maintenance plan for this property. Is this, am I incorrect or correct?
We did submit one as a late ad. But if the matter is going to be continued to be able to get that figure, we'll get that. And I think then the O&M will be part of the file.
Okay.
Well, I think we got the O&M the other day.
Right, it was a late ad though.
Yeah.
I think there should be one element added to the O&M that I don't think made it, which is to maintain the area behind the wall every, Lucia, you would ask maybe every 60 days, or was it?
I think
Or
it's at
monthly.
least a month. It was added. It's there.
you mean the trash?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think Tony had that in.
No,
No.
he didn't.
It is, it says, litter and other debris may collect on the site, especially below the retaining wall adjacent to the protected resource area. All debris and litter shall be removed as necessary at a minimum on a monthly basis.
Oh, okay. Why am I not seeing that?
I think that was in the.
Oh, I see it.
wasn't
Yes, it's
Yeah.
on the front page under debris and litter removal.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so we're gonna continue this until the next month. And so just to be specific, you guys are asking them to come back with a number of, I know that email, I feel like that was sent like over a year ago, and I just tried to look for it too. It was sent by Tony Capicetti, and he's no longer the engineer, I guess, on this project. So maybe you guys want to reach out to Tony because he probably has it. I know I had it and I've been waiting. I said I wasn't looking at it until you filed for a certificate.
And
So that's what you guys are looking for, and then
on
we'll
this plan.
from there.
The plan that we see that was submitted for the as-built, perhaps you could show the comparison red and green are in, so you just see it in color, the area where it's closer than 25 feet and the areas where it's greater. So you'd see a green area where it applies and a red area, so you can get kind of a visual,
We could do that.
you know.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions that I think were left out or left over from the last time we met. This is still considered a green burial cemetery,
Yes.
and you said you were going before the Board of Health to get some sort of approval for chemicals, which is fine.
No, no. We're finished with the Board of Health with the exception of the vault type we're using. There is we've engaged the services of Dave McKenna, who services many of the cemeteries in this area, and he was explaining to us that the current vault that is most often used, which meets the technical standard of green burials, is a two-piece MD, two-piece top. And we were always talking about and showing a single piece top for the vault. So Board of Health is going to amend their findings so as to allow the two-piece top, and we'll forward that on to you. But that's the only change in the green burial portion.
Okay. The other thing that was discussed at one point, the plot plan, the number of burial sites on the property, I believe, changed because you had to change the direction of the layout for the vault and the size of the vault.
Yeah, so initially we had 936, but after going through with health department and measuring everything, they recommended that we go for 827, and that's what we changed to 827.
But that had to do with the fact that the vault was bigger than what you had planned without the vault, correct?
Yes, yeah. So with the vault, they thought that we need at least 3 feet, so that's why we went 3 by 8. And after doing the measurement, they realized that it's going to be 827.
Okay. Did you guys also realign the way the plot plan, the burial plots were laid out?
Yes, we did the lining. We are going to have the numbering as well, but the ground is frozen right now.
No, that's fine, but you did have to realign the burial plots.
Yes, we did
because of your faith. So
Yeah.
we were facing the right way.
Yes, yep.
Okay, so that's in a new plot plan, correct?
Yes, the as-built-in plan has the updated plot plan, yes.
All right.
And we'll give you that plan as well.
Okay, I'm going to
Through the chair.
go ahead, Mike.
So the plan that was in our submission for a certificate, the layout of the grave sites, those aren't correct?
Oh, they are. I think the updated plan we submitted, it is correct.
And that was how many burial?
827.
820. So the site, 827. Okay, so the plan we're looking at is depicting the 827 burial sites. Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna look for a motion to continue until April.
Yep.
Does that give enough time?
That's what I'm
Yes.
asking. Is that enough time, Jack?
Yes, it is, because as Lucia was pointing out, we all think that actually that number's been provided. None of us can find it, so we'll get that within a matter of days.
Okay, as soon as you
And
have
then
it,
we'll
send-
update all your plans, whether they be the record plan, but so you'll have everything the Board of Health has.
And
Okay.
through the chair, before you make a motion, Jack, when are you guys planning? I think that you sort of came here because you want to start burying people, correct?
Yes.
So are you asking for verbal permission to bury people without a certificate? Is that for one of the questions? Because that's something to ask right now.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, on that note, the locations where those burials will take place, is it somewhere more in the interior than along the outer edge?
No, And we've also agreed with the Board of Health that we're gonna start nearer to Lowell Street and then work back. But, no. The principal change is by reorienting them, to face Mecca. That, we did lose some, so we're down to 827. They approved 827 lots. We'll give you that plan with the orientation properly and for your files, and then we will calculate the amount of area that we've encroached upon for you in order to ask for any certificate. But yes, in the event that the Board of Appeals approves us with our new vaults next week, we would hope to be in the position to bury folks beginning April.
Okay.
Sorry to bother you. Anthony, Tony from Highest Engineer just sent the numbering. I can share that with you if you like.
Oh,
Okay. So let me know when you can see it.
It's visible now.
Okay, so he said that the total disturbance beyond 25 feet temporary and permanent was 1748 square feet. The permanent disturbance beyond 25 is 218 square feet, and then areas farther than 25 permanently is 232 square feet.
I'm lost.
yeah, do we know
If the total is
what's permanent, what's
1748,
temporary?
I think Tony might be on. If you can let him in, you might be able to kind of speak to it.
Oh, so the temporary disturbance might be disturbance associated with having to build the wall,
The construction, yeah,
construction, but the permanent loss of buffer zone,
is where the wall is located.
it's almost a wash. It's only, am I reading right? It's like 4 feet, 14 feet?
Yes, Tony Capichetti with Hayes Engineering.
hey, Tony,
How you doing? Sorry. So yeah, the temporary disturbance was behind the wall from the excavation of the footing, removal of some invasives that were up against the wall. That's been restored and reseeded. So that was that total disturbance.
Yeah.
You gained a net of 14 square feet between the 25 and the back of the wall. But there's 218 square feet that the wall encroaches into the 25 foot.
But
So the contractor laid the wall out himself. For someone with a tape measure, he did an okay job, but he obviously, wasn't perfect when it came to the corners going through the buffer zone.
Through the chair, Tony, what's the bottom line? I'm not
There's
I'm not,
14 more square feet behind the wall that's protected, but we didn't, there's 218 square feet of permanent disturbance we didn't originally propose. But you're getting back 232, so you're a net gain of 14 square feet.
can you put your note back up again?
so you're telling me that we actually came out ahead?
Compared to what was proposed, yes, you got about 14 square feet more, but there are areas, because we had agreed to hold a 25-foot no disturb with the wall. So there are areas that are closer. But in the end, you're gaining 14 square feet of 25-foot or area behind the wall compared to the 25-foot.
So area further than 25 feet was 232, and area.
So area between the back of the wall and the forward side of the 25-foot no disturbance.
Yeah.
Is 232 square feet more than what was proposed.
So that's a loss of area, let's call it loss of buffer zone.
So your total gain is 14 square feet if you hold the wall now as the permanent limit of disturbance.
So there's 14 square feet additional area behind, in the back.
Behind the wall,
I understand it.
wetland side of the wall.
What's that? On the wetland side of the wall?
Yes.
Oh, all right, so the,
But the idea that the contractor couldn't survey it properly, and so he just did it like he kind of went about it like he wanted to.
Yeah,
Um,
it looks like he taped it. I mean, he did it. Again, we're talking 14 square feet. He did a very good job as far as laying it out himself. But you know, it's a variation from the approved plan, so we noted it. But in the end, there'll be 14 more square feet behind the wall than was originally proposed to be protected.
When you say behind the wall, you're in a wetland then,
On the
right?
wetland side.
Okay.
Yes, wetland side, correct.
Wetland side.
All right, so
So we have
Better
14,
than I thought.
I don't think there's anything else to do. I think it's, all right, we lost 14 square feet.
Gain.
Gain.
I mean, we gained 14 square feet, but there was a little more disturbance in spots, but that was only temporary disturbance.
Correct.
So the only thing I can think of is there anything that would be helpful to see behind the wall on the wetland side that might just well, any plantings or seed or anything like that
So I believe they
enhance the
did put a
project.
seed mixture down behind the wall. I think this spring, if whatever doesn't germinate, they should possibly scratch up and replace. But it is kind of growing back in. And, you know, the monitoring going back there, collecting any trash, because there is some trash that comes off of Lowell Street through no fault of the applicant that does kind of blow down behind the wall. So they'll do that on a regular basis.
All right, I got two questions. One, I'm going to ask for a hand raise or a roll call vote to a motion to accept the difference between the plan and what you actually did for square footage in the wetlands. Okay, and then the second is there were bushes planted along a fence off Lowell Street.
Yep.
Is
That
those
was
going
part
to
of
be
our
re-
special permit requirement, and
Is it
they've
going
all
to be
died.
replaced? Huh?
They've all died.
I know, but that's probably because there was no water.
That is one.
Well, are they going to be replaced?
I'm going to reach out to the city council and look to them. We did replace it with a fence, but that, you know, we still need to address the issue of our promise to the city council.
Okay. All right.
But that wasn't part of our order.
I was just asking because it looks, you know, they're dead.
Through the chair.
Go
So
ahead.
right before we started, before Tony caught on, you guys were about to give them the verbal okay to use the property as burial. And Mike, I think, was saying that would be fine as long as there's a bunch of grave sites outside of our buffer zone. So are you guys, MD, are you okay with starting the burial process along Lowell Street outside of our buffer zone?
Yes.
You have a motion to start the burial.
Yes.
Somebody want to make that motion?
Okay, so a motion to
It's like a
Allow-
that's not opposition to approve that anyways, but I'm just, if you're gonna get permission to begin burying people, then if it's outside the buffer zone, that's great. I mean, no matter what.
Well, Mike, you have to, there's going to be soil. So, I mean, they're going to be very close to the buffer zone, I think, wherever they are.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I
I
think
mean, it's inside, all inside the fenced area, and it's close
Yes.
to Lowell Street.
Yes, I agree. And I'm fine if you guys are fine with allowing them burial, but I'm just saying that I know Sharon in the health department is going to call me and say, are you guys okay if they start burying? And I need to tell them something.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
It's like a temporary occupancy permit.
No, it's not. This is permanent. The,
Yeah, I'm okay with,
do we have a motion to allow them to start burying?
Thank you.
yeah,
And then we still will get you that overlay plan for your records, and you should still have the final plan showing the orientation and the 827 lots.
All right, my guess is that we can grant them a approval to start burying, which probably won't happen before April anyway. Correct, MD?
Correct.
And so the plan, they can go forward with a plan. I think that we should see a new set of plans showing in red and green, like Commissioner Rizzo suggested, the amount of land that was given up or gained. And we should also mark on there where these burial plots will be that are going to be used first. So we have an understanding of what we're doing in terms of burying.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I want to make sure they're back next month.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I'd like to get that before our next meeting. And the I'd like to.
Can we have
I'd like
that
to
next
meet,
week, do you
I'd
think?
like to meet, yeah, we can do it sooner better. I'd like to meet next month and just say approved.
Yeah.
Not go through all this again.
Yeah, just make sure you guys come back next month with the colored up plan and then we can, get this done.
And indicate also where the first burials will be.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. It just in case someone passed away, we lost about 6 person who couldn't be buried because of the our fall that we took some time. So I was wondering if I can show you where exactly we can start, at least if someone dies. Hopefully
Okay.
no one.
Yep.
But okay, let me share my screen, and if you all want, we can start. Maybe this plot number is here. Maybe the C15. Couple of them, if we need to use, maybe in C15, which is right by Lowell Street.
Yeah.
And it's going to be between beyond that buffer zone we're talking about.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
I'm just noticing that there's no pathway generally for people to walk or drive back to the back of the cemetery. Was that was intended?
Yes.
Well,
Yes, very
there's no
much intended.
headstones either. There's not going to be any headstones, so it's
Yes,
not like
you're
it's
right.
No.
an obstruction in a way.
Okay. Okay. Just out of typical, not used to what different. There's a different type of cemetery.
Well, it's just
Like
Different.
Memorial Cemetery, their markers reach.
Okay.
Memorial Parks.
Yeah.
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 Do we have a motion to continue?
Yes,
Yeah.
motion to continue.
Motion to continue. Oh, second.
roll call.
Okay, motion to continue till April made by Mr. Rizzo, seconded by Amanda. Roll call, Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Colmack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
On to the next first word problem.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
MD, thank you. Number 4. Stay tuned, Jack. A public hearing and notice of intent submitted by Attorney John Kelty for Josephine Cook, the owner. Proposed work is the construction of a single-family house with associated utilities, grading, and driveway properties known as 29 Glendale Ave, map 120, lot 27, a portion of it, and it's in Peabody, Mass. I want to schedule a site visit for the commission to see the area between the proponent's Glendale Ave address and the potential floodplain on Granite Ave, which is around the corner. Can I ask Lucia to contact the members and get a date for a site visit?
Yes.
Okay. Lucia?
you want me to get a site visit right now together?
No, no. I'm just asking that you take care of it, in the near future, hopefully before our next meeting, if we can get in there without snow. Okay.
I'm off tomorrow and Friday, and I will send it at some point, either Monday or Wednesday of next week.
That's fine.
So my expectation being here this evening was that we were going to schedule a site visit, which would be between now and your April meeting. And do you want the applicants present? Do we want to discuss dates now?
It's Lucia, do you want to discuss dates now?
Well, the applicant should be present,
Yeah.
definitely.
I just think we have a really long meeting ahead, and if we start talking about 15 minutes about what date and what time works for everyone, we're going to be sitting here a very long time.
But wouldn't it be that we decide that date and we'd be on our way? There's nothing more to do tonight if we need a site visit. So if we pick a date, we're done. Yes, no, am I?
No, I'm okay. I'm setting a date.
Propose a date.
Anybody have a date in mind?
Yeah, when you coming back?
Yeah.
Next week, I'm flat out, so there's no way I can make next week at all.
I was suggesting the third or fourth week of the month. And again, I think we should be able to narrow this down before our next meeting, get it done. And I don't know that I want to take up the time of the commission to pick a specific date. We can certainly do this by email, and we can let the landowner know, Jack know, and I'd also like to invite some of the abutters that are affected by the possibility of the groundwater being changed.
All right, let's just let's not pick a date tonight. Let's just
right.
agree we're going to have a site visit, and we'll make arrangements to get all the parties necessary that should be at the site meeting, and then.
All right.
So I move to continue.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Was that Vivaldi said second?
Yes.
All right, so motion to continue made by author, seconded by Mr. Vivaldi. Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Wash together. All right. Item 5, public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by Chuba Engineering Group, PC, Helen Chuba, PE for New York Capital Investment Group, LLC. Proposed work is the upgrade to the vacuum system and installing pay stations within the 672 square foot of existing paved parking lot of an existing car wash located in the FEMA floodplain. The property is known as 27 Central Street, map 75, lots 211 and 218 in Peabody, Mass. I guess let's hear from Attorney Chuba, is it?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. No, it's my name is Hal Truba. I'm a consulting engineer.
Okay.
Thank you for the upgrade. My office is at in Dartmouth, Massachusetts. I represent the applicant on this application. As you read into the record, yes, this work is associated with the renovation of the existing car wash at 27 Central Street. Part of the renovation is to replace the existing outdated vacuum system. Currently, the existing vacuum system consists of three vacuums on the exterior of the building and 5 vacuums in the interior of the building. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the facility, but the reason for the vacuums inside of the building was because the previous owner used to do a lot of full service car wash in the building. You would enter the building, people would vacuum your car, and then you go through the tunnel for a car wash. My client, who also owns and operates about 15 car washes in the Boston area, is mostly in the self-serve automated car wash business. So what we propose to do here, we propose to replace the 5 vacuums inside the building and the 3 outside the building with 11 vacuums, different type of vacuums. This is more modern system, state-of-the-art vacuum system that is not the old canister type. Doing that, though, it triggered a special permit from the city council because the car wash is an existing non-conforming use. We did go in front of the city council in the past month, and we did obtain the special permit. One of the conditions was to check with conservation. The reason the property is in the flood, so some of the work would be in the flood areas, so that triggers a conservation filing. Now, to be more specific, the work would entitle the disturbance of 672 square feet of existing paved parking. It's already disturbed and paved, and so there'll be no increase in runoff or increase in impervious areas. So basically, we would cut the pavement to install the pads that we need. It's all shown on the plans, and we would put back the same material with the same grade. There'll be no change in grade. Doing that, we would remove 3 concrete pedestals that the old canister system sat on, and I have calculated each one about 80 cubic feet in volume. That was in the flood. So we would take 240 cubic feet out of the flood, and we would install 11 vacuums and 2 pay stations. And each, I did the calculations, all the breakdown is on the plan. We calculated every single bolt and pole and bollard that would go inside the flood zone, and we came up with 145 cubic feet. So by doing this work, the resultant would be a 95 cubic feet of additional flood. So basically, we didn't lose any flood volume.
You're saying we would gain additional flood storage?
Yes, we gain 95 cubic feet of flood volume, and it's all on the plans. During the construction, we would install silt sacks on the existing catch basin down the street. So, and we would install also silt socks all around the area. And I would say installing the vacuum system would be somewhere around a week. So basically within a week, we would be done. And prior to removing all the erosion control devices, we would inspect the catch basins, clean the site, make sure there's no silt, and clean them up. And then once everything is restored to pre-construction conditions, we would remove all the erosion control and devices. I've been going back and forth with Lucia, and I submitted all the plans and documents that's needed. We also notified about 100 abutters because unfortunately, or the building next door is a condominium type of building, and each unit is a property owner. So we spent about maybe a day between filling out the forms, going to the post office and sending all the certified mails. I did send the copies of the green cards to Lucia, and we would really appreciate if you can help us with moving this forward, because my client is stuck at this time, and we've been on. We would like to open a car wash and get back in business as soon as we can. And I'll be happy.
I received a letter through Counselor Stephanie Peach from Ward 3, which I would like to read into the record.
Sure.
New York Capital Investment Group LLC is seeking to increase the number of vacuum machines and pay stations at the Peabody Car Wash located at 27 Central Street. Such a change would increase automobile traffic, noise, and air pollution and adversely affect our neighborhood. We request the Conservation Commission obtain and review safety data sheets for the multitude of cleaning chemicals which may be used by the car wash. Proctor Brook is nearby. We'd like to know if any of their soaps or wax emulsions contain alkaphenyl ethoxylates, APEs or APEOs, or fluorosurfactants. These materials may be toxic to fish, may persist in our water supply, or bioaccumulate. We oppose any expansion number of vacuum machines and pay stations because we care about our neighborhood and our city of Peabody. Respectively submitted, and there's a list of people that signed on to this letter. I can read the names: Donna Costa at 8 Monroe, Hannah Rose Phelan at 8 Monroe, Johnny Gonzalez at 8 Monroe, Anna Conley and John Conley at 2 Monroe. That's the letter that I said I would read, which is fine. The question I have is, I need to know somehow or other. Right now, your car wash is self-contained in a sense that whatever liquids you're hitting the cars with and rinsing them off goes into some sort of container under the building, correct?
Correct, sir. Yes, the vacuum has nothing to do with the car wash, right?
Right.
And
No, I
just
understand.
Yeah.
But
Yes, absolutely.
the residents have raised the question of potential pollutants, which I have to address because it does ostensibly go into a river. And we had a situation, you guys cleaned out that box at one point this year, and where the chemicals are contained, and it was, I believe it was left on site and wound up draining off site. So I want to make sure that we understand what is in those what's in the chemicals, and you don't have to do it tonight. Just get us a list of the chemicals you're using. If there's a way to substitute the current materials, chemicals for green chemicals, let us know that too, because that would be beneficial. And how often do you go through and purge that container under the car wash? And what do you do with it? Because the intent is not to pollute the groundwater or the adjoining wetlands. And just simple stuff. Now, regarding the additional kind of vacuum systems, the only thing I would ask is there some way to put a muffler on those so they don't make a racket when they're being used?
Mr. Chair, I think I mentioned that in the application, the motors for the vacuums are being installed inside of the building, so it does not emit any sound.
So there won't be any sound outside. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Anybody else have any questions?
Through the chair, just in looking at the plan, you're proposing hay bales, and we don't allow hay bales in Peabody.
That was a typo, Mr. It's not hay bales, it's silt base, and again, silt sock. The detail on the plan shows a silt sock. This was a typo from I just noticed that this afternoon, so we'll change that.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Bruce.
So I don't know. I feel that I understand the concerns of the neighborhood, but this can be really simple. The vacuums don't add anything to actually give us more flood. The sound is inside the building, the motor's inside the building. All we need to do is we need to have them add something that says that they're going to use some sort of a vacuum truck, and all the material that they suck out of the bottom of that thing is going to be removed off-site. It's not going to be allowed anymore to be done by manual, hand, whatever. And that's the end of it. I don't know why we have to prolong this.
No, I agree.
Mr.
I
Chair,
don't need
if I
to know
may-
I don't need to know what the chemicals are, and because it's not going to be out of the building. It's not going to go into the streams. All we have to do is make sure that they're not going to do any clean out like they did. They did it the last time, okay, that's the end of it. But as long as they come in with a vacuum truck of some kind or I mean, I have anything anything that we have to remove oils off site. It's all kinds of things that people do right nowadays, and it's all registered and done. And there should be no reason they can't just vacuum it out from the bottom, whatever they do it once a year, twice a year. I'm not sure how often that's done. And that's the end of it. We don't really need to know any of that. Because it won't affect the neighborhood at all. And again, it won't affect any more sound. As far as an increase in traffic, I don't know if there's gonna have an increase of traffic or not. So, and that's my feeling on it. I just like to go to the next thing, and if we can't give them what they're looking for tonight, that's up to you guys. But I mean, I think that they could add that there's no longer gonna be they cannot self-clean that thing. They have to hire a company, and we should have to see a manifest that they've done it.
I concur with everything Bruce just said.
We have no objection, Mr. Chair. This is how we do it on all the locations, and I agree. And just to add that the increase of the number of vacuums was approved by the city council. So we're not here for the number of vacuums. We're here. I understand the concerns, and I can give you the list of the chemicals. I understand my client uses a green biodegradable ingredients, and that we can get you all that stuff. It could be part of the conditions, and we have no issue to comply with what you're saying. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, so we are looking to probably put in the operations and maintenance section to not have the debris collecting under the vacuum stations
Mhm.
Unloaded off-site. So can that be included?
Absolutely. That could be part of your conditions also on the approval.
And through the chair, maybe also in the O&M plan.
Yes,
Yes.
O&M plan. And just to speak about what happened, I think it was over the summer, it was whenever the car wash passed hands. I went out there with Randy. He was the code enforcer. And then I cannot remember if health was out there as well, but there's some sort of oil water separator in the building that the car wash, all the whatever it is goes into that. Obviously it can't go into the storm drain. So we shouldn't, the only reason why it would go into the storm drains is if someone is physically putting a hose out, which many years ago that did happen. And how we caught them was a different owner, was they put it into the catch basin. And then if you go down to Walnut Street, it daylights at I think the Peabody house or one of those tall high-rise buildings. And it was snowing, so the purple dye from the detergent was on the snow. A little kid actually ratted them out, and so they got in trouble that time. And then over the summer, it was right as they passed hands, there was some manual digging of sludge, and they put it into an unlined dumpster. and put it in FEMA floodplain, and it was just dripping out, and it was just a mess. So I think that the O&M plan needs to be revised, and you guys need to condition it the way, however you just said. But that should never, ever happen again. It should be exactly what Bruce said. They should be coming in and having it sucked out by a professional. And I think that's all either through the health department, but our gas and plumbing inspector is the one who typically requires all that stuff under the building or in the building, whatever.
That's how it's being done in other locations. I agree. So we can add to the O&M.
Okay. Do we continue this until we get everything till next month?
Is this open to the public?
Yeah,
It is.
yes.
It-
Does
it-
anybody want to speak? Raise your hand. I see Councilor Peach is in attendance. Do you wish to speak at this point?
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I don't have much to add. I worked with Hal and his company and the owners of the car wash through the special permit process, and it was unclear how the vacuums would be installed, whether it would need to go through Concom, which is why, I know typically we would have waited for your decision before issuing a special permit, but those plans were not finalized. So that's why we went ahead with that. I have spoken with the neighbors. They submitted that letter. I think we've addressed those concerns specifically about the pollution and making sure that that's taken care of. There's contention around the project in general, but it is a pre-existing non-conforming use in the neighborhood. So the council did move forward and approve the additional vacuums. I think the internal storage of the motors and the main part of the vacuum system will help significantly with the noise pollution. So, and for the commission's knowledge, all the vacuums and the pay stations will not be lit during off hours, and they'll be currently the vacuums are 24 hours at the car wash, and these will be timed based on the season. So I have no objection to the conservation portion of this.
Okay. We have a motion?
And is there no new expansion of payment or anything like that?
No, absolutely not.
Just kind of retrofitting equipment and such.
Correct.
No change in grade, correct?
No change in grade, no.
We get a motion?
Well, you need to close it first. As long as there's no one else in the public. I didn't see any hands, and Councilor Peach spoke.
Motion to close the public part of the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing.
Second,
Second,
roll call?
Yeah, motion made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, second by Commissioner Athos. Roll call, Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes,
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athos.
yes.
Okay, so it is closed.
Again, the request was for a notice of intent that was submitted. Proposed work was upgrade of the vacuum system and installing pay stations within a 672 square foot of existing paved parking lot. And we've expanded it a little, but I'm asking, I guess, a motion to continue this and hopefully we continue it to the next meeting in April. And we want to receive a modified.
Through the chair, you guys just closed the hearing, so I thought you can't close it and then continue it.
I thought we closed the public portion.
No.
So, I mean, I'm fine if you guys want to make a motion with conditions asking for a revision. It sounds like time is of the essence, and these guys are you know, I don't think they're going to be filing with DEP if we don't, you know, if I don't draft that order within 21 days. I have a feeling that I'm probably going to come in next week and I'm going to have this revised O&M plan. So was there something else you're looking for?
No,
You just want that revised O&M plan, correct?
and they're gonna provide us with a list of chemicals.
Yep. So Hal understands that. So I would say if you guys, since you closed it, you either have to take that vote back and continue it, or if you're going to go ahead and issue an order of conditions, I would suggest 1 through 50, adding special conditions that an as-bilt's required when requesting a partial or a full certificate of compliance. So that would take care of what Vice Chairman Rizzo just said about the grades changing. We'll be able to compare the two plans. The O&M plan needs to be revised, and that would be in perpetuity. Their plan does show that the catch basins are protected, but I would also add that as a condition, just because sometimes people don't look at plans. I know sometimes I just go straight to the conditions. I would also add all of DPS conditions, which I'm not sure if the applicant's seen them, but I doubt they're anything. Hal, have you seen any of DPS's conditions?
Not in the city of Peabody, but I don't think this is any different from other cities. If it's just the standard, right? I mean, there's nothing, we're not required to improve 6 miles from the project or, right? I mean,
Hold on. I don't think they were, okay. One is actually just hay bales. So he called you out on the hay bales. So change that, draft that the hay bales. I'll write that on mine as well. Hay bales.
yes, it's on this, and the detail, it's a silt sock, but that was a typo. So yeah.
Yep. Then he says an operation and maintenance plan should be provided to detail the procedures that will ensure that the catch basin, silt sacks, and silt sock with silt fencing for erosion controls are functionally optimally during the construction period. So I think that is in here.
It's in the O&M that I sent you this afternoon, but well, we can add it to also to the plan.
Yep. Oh, yep. All catch basins. Yep. Got that. See that. And then the last one is the exact same thing. The applicant shall supply a full set of as-built drawings to the engineering department of DPS upon completion of the improvements and before the application of certificate of compliance. So there's definitely nothing life-shattering at all.
No.
And what Bruce had discussed about the disposing and cleaning
Of the silt. Yeah.
Yeah, that I feel like that should definitely be in the O&M plan, and then it should also be a condition.
Right.
I agree.
Through the chair, that has to, again, something like that, when the company that comes and takes the material away, again, I don't know how often they have to do it. That's not my expertise, but there should be a manifest that you, and I'm sure they get it. It's just a normal thing. We should be a manifest that can be either filed with you or, just sent to you. That's, as part of the O&M plan.
Okay.
Maintenance plans or the annual, once everything's online, it should be submitted to us on 10/31 annual.
Yeah.
Do we hear a motion for what Lucia said?
Motion to issue those orders of conditions.
Second.
Roll call.
Yep, sorry, I got lost.
It's
So
okay.
that was made by Mr. Rizzo, seconded by Mr. Colmack. And I'm gonna do the roll call, but then before you leave, I'm just gonna try to read that again a little more clear for you.
Yeah.
Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes,
Commissioner Colmack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athis.
Yes.
All right, so we need a list of chemicals that you use. You're gonna need to, this is before I'm even gonna think about drafting issuing and drafting the order of conditions. Revise the O&M plan to talk about the emptying of the tanks.
Yeah.
And supplying the manifest to us annually. And And I guess that's what else was supposed to be in that. I don't think anything else, right? That was it.
Mhm.
All right. And then all those conditions we already talked about, nothing, again, nothing life shattering.
I'll send you the O&M revised and the plans before you issue the order of conditions.
Yep. Oh, and revise the hay bales
Yes.
off the plan.
I have it, yeah.
All right, moving on to 190.
Thank you.
Thank you.
190, number 6. Continued public hearing on notice of intent submitted by Hayes Engineering, Anthony Capichetti, for Site Residences LLC, Arthur Pimentel. The proposed work is the construction of a multifamily residential building with associated driveways, parking access, utilities within buffer zone to BBD and IVW. Property is known as 190R Newberry Street, map 35, lot 38A, Peabody, Mass. Will did do an extensive work on this, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was done.
For the record, my name is John R. Kelty. I'm an attorney. I practice law at 40 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. And yes, I'm here on behalf of the Side Tenny Residences LLC. This is a notice of intent that was filed in June of 22. We filed it in anticipation. This is a project that was previously approved by the City Council, Planning Board, and Conservation Commission. An order issued. We never constructed that particular plan. This plan is same in theory and substance, but wholly re-engineered. Our former engineers, the Fleming Group, did get us through a process that proved to be very difficult to build. It was replete with problems with respect to the DPS, so we engaged the services of Hayes Engineering, and we've been waiting for our project to be reviewed by the Public Services Department as part of our notice of intent. And at long last, it has been reviewed. It's a matter up to the commission as to whether they want to move on this matter this evening. We would hope you would. It's a matter that's been on your agenda and is now thoroughly engineered. Mr. Capichetti from Hayes is here this evening. We're happy to answer any questions that the board may have. The unit count is the same from our previous plan. The use of the property is the same as our previous plan. This is a undeveloped piece of property consisting of several acres adjacent to railroad right-of-way, abutters on Pine Street, the Boston Sports Club, which I think has undergone new ownership again, but it is that large site that is a sports facility. We are intending to build this residence building in the rear, and I'm happy to say that we're finally reviewed, and if the board sees fit, we are happy to comply with the matters that have been set forth in that review by the Public Services Department, and we're happy to answer questions the board may have this evening. Try to make that fast as possible.
Yeah, and I believe most of the questions, if not all the questions that were raised by our conservation agent and public services, you received, I think, the comments, and I believe you responded in the affirmative that you can meet all the requests.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that there was a submission today from Tony, correct? And I didn't have a chance to look at it. So I'm gonna offer that we take the time to do it, to schedule a site visit as a group, and we have time to revisit or look at Tony's latest submission.
But
Uh,
Mr. Chairman, the submission was only to respond to Lucia's comments saying that we had no disagreement with them. And we had omitted a snow storage plan that had previously been included, so we issued a new snow storage plan. And as has
That's it.
always been the policy, was to, once those areas were full, was to truck the snow off-site and have that as an ongoing condition.
Anybody else want to comment?
Stuart, through the chair, what would be the reason for a site visit? I'm not really understanding
I
that.
wanted to see where the snow storage was, what their plan was. There's also, did you guys change grade on this?
So
Significantly.
that's
At the request of the department, that's what caused the variation from our earlier approved plan to this plan. It was
Right,
all
this-
about elevation, the amount of fill we were placing over city sewer
Right.
service.
Okay. So,
And
Is that-
that's been accommodated. We lowered the elevation.
so that's all done already.
yes,
Yep.
we're within 12 inches of what's existing grade out there now, as opposed to, there were areas in the previously approved plan that had almost 8 feet of fill over it.
Okay, I guess it's up to the commission if you want to do a site visit on this or not. But it's,
I don't know if I need to, I think I've been to the site many times, not on this project, but on all the different designs and so forth from that site. It was cleaned up quite a bit, and I don't think it's necessary for a site visit.
okay. Then,
Could we issue an order?
so we need an order.
Do you have any comments, any questions from the public?
Yeah, you guys don't want him to like go through the plan or anything?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll share the screen. So the plan, I'll kind of go over the highlights of the changes. Boston Sports Club, Latitudes, the athletic facilities in this location here. This is kind of split. You would enter off of Route 1. In the previous configuration, you took a hard left and cut through the parking area and then down. We renegotiated the easement. So you now come in, avoid the large parking area, and then take a left and follow along the edge. We're restriping the parking area at Latitude, and then enter our site. You enter here. That existing causeway is now within 12 inches of the existing grade. And what we've done is we kept it fairly flat. The road's super elevated and discharges to a treatment swale and then bioretention area. We're able to provide a sidewalk along the wetlands. We eliminated almost all the walls on the site, excepting a short wall in this area here. A wall adjacent to the wetlands here, and then here to mitigate the grade transition. There were some discussions at the last meeting we were at, which was probably November or December with the commission, about the wetland line and location. And what we had discussed was originally we were just doing some buffer zone mitigation. We've added wetland replication in this kind of cross stripe area here and here around the wetlands. And then the buffer zone mitigation, which is in the checkered areas outside. So we've rather than reestablish and discuss the line again, we held the old line and then provided in some areas up to 20 feet of additional wetlands as kind of a give back for the area. Then as I said, this is the snow storage plan. It shows these kind of dark areas within the landscape islands as snow storage, and then a windrow along the southerly side of the access road. And then just zooming up on the site, in addition to this fire retention area, we also have another bioretention area here. DPS asked us, we were originally in this area here. They asked us to move it further back. So the only disturbances in this area will be getting across the sewer easement and then running parallel to it. The existing rooftop infiltration remains. We meet all the stormwater management standards. And as I said, the amount of actual earthwork and disturbance is considerably less by lowering the whole site almost 6 feet. Even from the last rendition when we were here 4 or 5 months ago, we went from a finished floor of 76 now down to 73. Existing grade is currently 72 right out in front of the building. So we're very close to what's out there existing. Basically, that would work as the existing subgrade. We'd bring in some processed gravel to build the road on top of, and then between binder and finish would be between 12 and 18 inches from what you see out there currently. If there's any other questions, I can address it. I just don't want to take up too much of your time going over the plan if there are other items.
Does this plan have guardrails someplace?
It does. There were guardrails in the access area. Okay. And then in this area here, we had originally specified a wooden guardrail.
Yep.
Lucia made a comment that the commission's had problems before with wooden guardrails rotting out, and asked if we would be willing to do metal guardrails. We're fine with that substitution. We would just, if the board was inclined, before the order issues, we would update the detail on the plan.
Okay. The wetland replication plan. Can we get some language for 75% of the survivorship rate for the
Yes, so
planting?
we had responded to Lucia today. She had brought that up. We
Okay.
said that we're happy with providing a replication narrative with monitoring during each growing season for 3 growing seasons. So April, October, and then April again, with 75% survivability rate at the end of that, and replacing the that don't survive. And at that point in time, we can apply for a full certificate of compliance.
Okay. And we should have a standalone document for the construction sequence of the buffer zone enhancement areas and wetland replication. And I'd like that to be one of the conditions.
Yeah, we're amenable to that.
Proposed wetland replication and buffer zone enhancement areas should be staked before any work commences. That's a recommended condition as well.
Sure.
So we're fine with that. What I suggested was that we'll install erosion control at the lower portion of the replication area and then at the toe of slope. So the replication area could be constructed and then left protected. And those would both be in place prior to the pre-construction site walk for inspection by the commission or its agent.
Okay. The current O&M states debris and litter will be removed 4 times a year: winter, spring, summer, fall. The O&M plan should mention weekly trash removal from the BBW and wetlands and along the roadway, and for the dumpster to always be closed and contained. I'd like to get the O&M revised if it hasn't been done yet.
That's we'd be more than happy to submit an updated O&M.
Okay. Is condition okay with a residential structure of this type? There's this question to us from Lucia. Allowing residents to wash their cars in the parking area. And I guess there's no way to police what they're using. Things like simple green or things that are biodegradable. Is there any way that that the management of the building can do something about what's used so we're not killing off all the grass?
So we're willing to take a a condition that restricts no vehicle washing and updating the long-term operations and maintenance plan. That was kind of a boilerplate item that just kind of recommends and specifies those type of green materials be used, but for an apartment complex, it doesn't make sense to.
Okay, so you'll have no car washing allowed.
That is correct.
And weekly trash removal along the access road and in a BVW wetland buffer. The dumpster will be closed and contained.
That's
Correct?
correct.
Snow storage plan you explained. So basically that's it in terms of additions.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Mike.
So we have the inter-office memo from Public Services, Will Pollitt.
Yeah.
Rather extensive. There's like it references materials, like 24 different kind of documents. Just my question is just relative to an order of conditions. Should we issue one? Is how this might apply to the order of conditions? There's just a lot in this memo. How that would apply or reference.
In the past, we've referenced the memo and attached it and put language stating where applicable. If if you have a comfortable comfort level with that, we're amenable to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 12 comments just on stormwater, and then
yes,
so there. And rather than go through all those, I don't know if it's necessary to discuss all that. We already kind of did that when we had our meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to make sure it gets referenced in.
Sure. So let's attach it.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Mike.
It's outside of the purview of kind of a conservation commissioner, but more of like a concerned resident, that if this is a housing residential complex, has there been any thought given for people who might want to have a bicycle and have a bicycle storage in the building?
Yes, very much so. We have bicycle racks that we've actually installed, and also we're tying into the right away, which is one of our scenic walkways, which is the old railroad bed. If you recall, or if you've seen it in the newspaper, the city did get a grant to actually build a bridge over Route 1 as it connects this section of railway over Route 1 to Lowell Street. So we're very much tied into that. And then the next piece of property on the other side of the railway is Cy-Tenny Park. So our softball fields were tied right into them.
Yes, this kind of hexagonal shape is outfitted with bicycle racks on either side, and there's a walking path to get your bicycles out to what will be a bike trail.
So it's exterior outdoor bicycle storage. No,
And then there's
covered?
in front of the parking spaces, there are wall mounts for interior bicycle storage for the
Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm not living there, but it's good to. I think it'll be a very nice amenity for the people who do live there.
We know where you'll be storing your bicycle, Mike.
Great.
Yeah. All right. I need a motion and conditions.
Do you have to open this to the public?
Yes.
Okay, let's open it to the public. Anybody want to speak? Oh, you have
Hi, can you hear me? Oh, yes.
Audrey Gordon.
Hi, yes. Hi, commissioners. Thank you for letting me speak. So I'm Audrey Gordon. I'm here with my husband, Rich Reed. We live at 17 Pine Street. And I think it's fair to say that as abutters, we are probably the most affected by this project. We live right behind where it's going to take place, where it's going to be built. And we are here to speak in favor of it. We have been working with the developer for a nice landscaped buffer to mitigate some of the view and other things, and pathways making sure we have access and all that kind of stuff. So they've been very accommodating, and we hope that the commission will approve of this plan tonight so it can move forward.
Thank you, Audrey.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Good seeing you again. Anybody else in the public? I don't see anybody. All right, if there's nobody else. We have motion to close the public hearing and then a motion to
Move to close the public hearing.
Second that?
roll call.
Yeah, motion made by Arthur, seconded by Mr. Rizzo. Roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes,
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes,
Commissioner Comac,
Yes,
and Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
All right, so it is closed 6-0. And I've just been jotting down stuff you guys are saying. So it sounds like the applicant is agreeing to change the metal guardrails. So we need a revised plan.
Yeah.
Anything else on that revised plan that you guys can see that we need?
Well, you're gonna be using standard type SS steel guardrail. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then I have, and I'm a little foggy here. If you guys, Tony emailed me saying he'd be willing to change the long-term and the O&M plan to weekly trash removal, no car washing, and that the dumpster needs to be closed at all times, or whatever the wording was. The conditions are written much better in my my notes. So are you guys asking for a revised O&M plan? I
yes,
would suggest it.
Yes.
yeah, I think it should be included as part of the, they should have that as part of this order.
And then the other thing that me and Tony discussed offline was the actual replication enhancement plan. Fabulous. Thank you so much. That's how they always should look. But I definitely suggest that we also need a narrative for the replication enhancement area. It has to have that 75% blurb in there, and a construction sequence, basically document how you guys are going to do it. And then just to go back to my conditions, I'm sure no one probably has read my conditions except Tony. But to add on it, I think condition 59 should be that the wetland flags must be reestablished before work can commence, and allow time for the Concom to inspect them, and then obviously someone said attach the DPS memo. That's perfect. And then all of my other conditions are pretty standard. It's just like the construction period, pollution plan must be followed during construction, O&M and LTP, LTPVP in perpetuity, annual maintenance reports due on 10/31. No parking is allowed along the access roadway. That's a big one. Tony, are they, was that like part of a special permit, or will it be part of a special permit?
It will be.
It will be, as it's also something we've agreed to with the planning board, so.
All right, so that's no skin off your back. Trash shall be removed from the wetlands on a monthly, weekly. So I guess this is my question. Trash shall be removed from the wetlands on a monthly basis or a weekly basis. That's up to the Concom, and the dumpster should be covered at all times, and no car washing is allowed. Would you guys say monthly or weekly?
I suggest weekly.
Monthly.
All right, I'm going to move on from that one. Either monthly or weekly that you guys have to, and then as-built is required when requesting a certificate of compliance and must be done at the same time as requesting an occupancy permit from the building department. That way it won't really hold up your request over there. Buffer zone enhancement areas and wetlands replication area must be completed before the issuance of a partial or full certificate. At least 75% of the vegetation must be in good health. The areas should be monitored for at least 2 growing seasons, as stated in this document that is going to be drafted and submitted. Next one, wetland narrative sequence to be followed and implemented. That's if you are requiring it, which I 100% think you guys, we need that narrative sequence. Replication in buffer zone enhancement areas should be staked and labeled in the field before any earthwork commences. And my final one, the wetland flags reestablished before work commences, with allowing time for the agent to inspect them, adding DPS conditions, attaching the memo, and then whatever else you guys decide on.
Thank you.
I have one quick comment. Lucia,
Go ahead,
you
Marty.
mentioned, Lucia, you mentioned that, that revised plans would probably be necessary.
They are for that guardrail for sure.
So if that's the case, then any of the, Mr. Langley's DPS comments could be added to that revised plan, correct?
The only revision is the swap out of the guardrail. That's it.
Okay.
No change in engineering. The type and style of guardrail, that.
Yeah.
But no, I think the question he's asking, I apologize. I actually did not have time to read Will's memo. Is there anything in Will's memo that needs to go on a new plan that Will needs to see? That's what Mr.
Yeah,
Vivaldi, I believe, is saying.
Oh,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's some minor
I'm sorry.
revisions. He wants us to shorten the swale by about 10 feet, or the bottom contour in the swale. There's nothing substantive to the plan, so much as some just kind of giving him some additional space to his soil easement from some of our grades.
so Tony, we would do one plan for both Will and the board.
Yeah, we can incorporate everything and
Yeah.
send them out at
Yes,
the same time.
that's what I'm saying, yes. Making sure that that happens all as one.
And we can just put a similar date with the revision for order of conditions. And that way it'll make it easier for Lucia to reference as well.
Okay. And so can we make a motion for issuing an order of conditions?
We're gonna close the hearing first.
I thought it was, I'm sorry.
No, you did. It was closed by
Yeah.
authors. Mike, you actually did second.
Yeah, I thought so, right.
Oh,
Getting late, huh?
yeah.
Go ahead, make your motion. I'm sorry.
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions with the conditions as stated by Agent Lucia Del Negro.
Second,
Roll
All right.
call.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call. So that was made by Mr. Vivaldi, seconded by Mr. Rizzo. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
No,
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
All right, so that motion passes 5-1 with Amanda voting no.
Thank you, commissioners.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I lost my place.
The next one is continued.
So we need a motion to continue.
Well, read it first.
Read it.
I lost it.
Can I read it for you then?
Go ahead, read it.
It's a notice of intent, a continued public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by GZA Geoenvironmental Dan Nitschke for Emmanuel and Rose Papanikolaou and JD Raymond Transport Incorporated. The proposed work is the construction of a stormwater infiltration basin partially within the buffer zone to a wetland resource. The property is known as 25 Farm Road, map 69, lot 6 and 7.
You get a motion to continue.
Motion to continue.
seconded.
Roll call.
Yep, that motion was made by Mr. Rizzo, seconded by Ms. Green. Hold on, I'm just writing this down. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes,
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
All right, so that is continued until April meeting.
All right, we're now into enforcement orders. Number 8, continued enforcement order issued to the Salem Country Club for the following activities: removal of living trees, grinding, grubbing stumps and buffer zone and in close proximity to jurisdictional resource areas and depositing wood chips in buffer zones and along local riverfronts. Property address is known as 133 Forest Street, Peabody, Mass. We have joining us tonight Evan and Ben, correct? Hey, Evan.
Hello, good evening, commissioners.
Good
For the
evening.
record, this is Evan Veneran of DeRose Environmental.
Okay.
We have been reviewing a chart that was prepared by the Salem Country Club addressing the emergency order that we had written and issued. And basically, the country club does not have the responsibility to issue an enforcement order. That's our job. And I'm gonna turn it over to Evan for a minute or so. Want to go through what changes she would recommend were made. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So basically, tonight, the commission should decide what they would like to see from SEC, the Salem Country Club, in terms of a revised planting plan. And the commission can consider some amendments or some language on how to amend the enforcement order. So based on the chart that you have been reviewing, we would recommend that the commission make a decision on what they would like the revised planting plan to look like. We would recommend that the Salem Country Club update the planting plans to show a diverse shrub layer, and that would include a list of species, a list of sizes that they are proposing, where in the restoration areas that they're proposing these shrub species, how many, also the native herbaceous seed mix that they've referenced in their plans. We need to see a list of what species that's in that list. And then there's also discussion on the no disturbance markers and no disturbance areas. In the November 30th, 2022 restoration plan that Salem Country Club submitted, they did discuss their proposal for where some of the no disturbance areas would be. If the commission agrees with those areas, then they should have those represented on the restoration plans for review and approval by the commission.
Anything else?
I think that's a good starting point for now. If the commission has any questions for me while they're discussing amongst themselves, I'm happy to answer.
I just thought maybe on the list for the chart, was that B subsection A, BA that you just discussed? You kind of roll everything all in one. There was.
I kind of just gave a broad overview.
Yeah.
I can go through each section separately if you'd like.
Yeah, I think we probably should do that, I think we concur. I think the commission concurs with the recommendations that were discussed with DEC on the changes and upgrades to the enforcement order. And The comments and recommendations were originally outlined in red. And I think for all intent and purposes, I think we concur with those. I think one of the items on, there was discussions about mulching or seeding. In stabilizing areas, and I think it was recommended that mulching would be the best. So that was a question that we hadn't made a decision. I believe we concur now that mulching will be the appropriate method of aiding that stabilization. Did the commission want to go through those item by item, or we just want to agree that we have reviewed, or have we reviewed the list, and we are prepared to modify the enforcement order and upgrade it to a final enforcement order as discussed with DEC? Or should we discuss each item?
Let's say the commission.
If I may, Mr. Vice Chairman, before you vote to amend the enforcement order, I think it's important that we get a restoration plan from Salem Country Club that satisfies what you're looking for. At this time, we do not have that. So we shouldn't be amending a final enforcement order until we have a restoration plan that we're ready to approve, and then they can implement.
Okay, so complete the restoration plan.
Good point, Evan. One of the things that I saw in the chart and in discussions regarding the restoration, the Salem Country Club just seems adverse to working with or involving DeRosa and Associates in anything they're doing. And I want to emphasize that this is not going to get, it's going to become a problem. I want to have the Salem Country Club, whenever necessary, reach out to DeRosa and Associates to combine your get the thing done together. One of the things that I'll cite as an example, you recently got rid of the hops that were on the property, and you, according to what you reported, you followed the directions that were provided by DeRosa and Associates. However, the planting of the seeds, there were 4 different seeds in the seed mix that would not grow in the area where you put them. My recommendation is, in the future, well, first of all, we need to have you reseed some of that. And second, in the future, I need much better cooperation. We're seeing that the DeRosa has helped out in sourcing where trees can come from. And it sounds like the country club is in agreement and has contacted the same people to get whatever trees they couldn't get before. And I don't want this to slow down or stop anything that's happening. If the country club cannot do certain things and needs help, reach out. There are experts out there, and they're already the consultant for the Concom. That was, my 2 cents worth.
Yeah. Well, I think the restoration plan, completing restoration plan is the most important. So that was obvious, and I got to say that, but that's number one. But number two is the plan needs to identify and show the things that we had listed in the enforcement order, such as, markers, granite bound markers that identify no disturb zones, but also identify where resource areas are.
I agree. Anybody else?
And those should be done under the enforcement order. That should all be included in the enforcement order, not as part of a separate notice of intent.
Okay, good idea.
There was discussions about a irrigation pond. We met out in the site and a couple of times, I think, and there was talk about future plans for the irrigation pond, and that's up to Salem Country Club if they choose to make changes to that pond, whether to be considered still as a irrigation pond or turn it into a regular wetland that doesn't have the liner in there. They can do and come back to us with that under a separate and notice of intent. I think we need to, in addition to, there was in the list there from the item BE, Salem Country Club to submit more diverse upland plant list for these areas for review and approval by Peabody Conservation Commission and DeRosa. We want that to happen. And also, it's important that, under the enforcement order, we have an engineer representing us on retainer with Salem Country Club. And it's of utmost importance that they continue to be part of this with involvement in all aspects until the 5-year plan is complete. So I think Salem Country Club has agreed in some of our discussions since our last meeting relative to Ben Staples being able to oversee tree planting stock prior to installing them. Salem Country Club was in agreement with that, and we want to have that in there. And also, Ben should be also oversee the stumps identification and monitoring efforts. There was talk about tagging the trees, aluminum tags, and I think Salem Country Club concurs with that. On each tree stump with GPS coordinates for identification during monitoring. There seems to be some disagreement as to the survival rate on these new plantings. We will require 75% survivorship for the understory, but we will require 100% for all the trees. No wavering on that. Hold on.
You up to item E?
Item E. Let's see.
The item C, we agreed, I believe, that all tree and shrub species should be approved by the commission's arborist.
Yes,
And,
and Salem Country Club concurs. They agree with that.
okay. Item D was report to be filed, completed by December 7. Soon as possible, only some all areas of which was, so I think item D was a fact that was wood chips versus mulching.
Yeah, we already discussed that. We're gonna go with
Yeah.
mulch on that.
Okay.
Under,
Mm. It was an issue under E about no later than June 30, 20. The same country club proposes a change to October 15th. That had to do with, I believe, getting into a growing season for the current year. And I don't know if they need that necessarily, but that's what they claim.
yeah, and I wonder how that date, I mean, the growing season starts earlier in the year.
It
And-
does, but
and
I
if
think
they don't
it had to
start-
do with,
If they don't start planting till late, for some, whatever reason it might be, if they don't start planting till late, then how does that date affect the enforcement requirement of 5 full growing seasons? Because everything, right now, it's talks about the plan being completed and the restoration accepted and completed by 2027. And if they don't get planting, if this planting doesn't happen until later in the year, like October, then that's not a full growing season, at least my understanding, that would not be a full growing season for this year. So these dates, the dates in the enforcement order will have to be updated to go to 2028. We're talking about full growing seasons, unless I'm not right about that.
Yeah, through the chair.
Yeah.
If they don't get these trees acquired, they don't have to plant them. But if they don't acquire them, they're not gonna be able to, a lot of these trees are spring dig only, so they won't be available.
Okay.
all the trees are spring dig only? Is that what you said?
A lot of them are. I'm not,
Okay.
I'm not particularly, I'm not looking at the list, but a lot of them are spring dig only.
Yeah,
They
'cause
only dig them now. You got another 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and that's it. If they're not, now they can dig them, ball them, and they can put I'm sure Salem Country Club could set up a holding area, mulch them and water them. So that's not a problem. But if they don't acquire them this spring, they won't be available in the fall.
we gave them permission to order the trees last month. And they were having an issue trying to get some of them, which has been resolved, I think, with Ben's help. Is that correct, Ben?
You're muted, Ben.
I'm unmuted. How's that? Yes, pretty much. I think there was a letter from Salem Country Club today with some minor changes, but in general, I think we're on a pretty good trajectory here.
So they should be able to make the planting season and not have to wait until October.
I would hope so. And there seems to be some difficulty in obtaining some of the plants that they have on their species list. And I think, as you suggested, if they run into difficulty sourcing that material, there are some resources that can be utilized to try to help with that. It would be nice to have as much variety as possible and to be as close as to the list that they've submitted as we possibly can be. Sure.
And you're saying you're willing to help out if they ask.
Yeah, I think Mike has some great connections and has helped in that particular matter. And certainly there are other resources if we have to pursue them, but I think it can get done. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Um,
The area of the hops removal, I guess. We need to know if you're using a herbicide. If you see plants growing again, we have to review the process. And we want DeRosa and team to be able to inspect it. And the new seed list be sent over for approval before it's used.
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
just to maybe kind of like cut this a little short. Do
Yeah.
you want to give me marching orders to work with the DeRosa team to amend our enforcement order and then to submit our changes to you guys for review? And then, I mean, if everything is okay, and at least, I mean, I feel like at this point we're at everyone is sort of in agreement of what these amended action items are going to be. So, I mean, me and Mike DeRosa could work on that within the next 2 weeks, or Evan, whoever on the DeRosa team wants to work with me on it. And then we can issue that, and then the country club will have new amended action items to follow. It seems like a lot of these things have to get in writing for us to ask for them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm stepping over the line, Evan. I mean, what do you think? I feel like we have
I
to
think
do this
that's
in writing,
really-
because otherwise we're just like, the country club, with all due respect, they should not be helping you guys draft action items for their enforcement. It's up to you guys. And if they, right now, I think there's a stay in the court. So if they don't like the action items that we come up with, we can talk about it in court. None of these items, though, that we're adding are anything like life shattering or oddities in the wetlands world. So I know that the chart, it states numerous times by their attorney that they're not going to duplicate. Hold on, let me just read verbatim. I don't want to misquote somebody. SCC does not agree that peer review involvement is necessary for supervision or monitoring. I definitely do not agree. Even on just like normal projects that are NOIs, there's a lot of times, if it's a large project, there is a second engineer that's hired by a city to oversee stuff because the agent can't get out there a lot. So this is like nothing crazy in my opinion. And I think Evan can speak to that too. So I know Barry has his hand up. If at some point you want to, you will let him speak, but I just think you should maybe give us a generic condition for me and the DeRosa team to at least start to draft those amended action items, and we can move on.
I think I agree with that, but it's important that, to me, it's very important that we determine the growing season and the year that the project should be completed, depending on when the plantings go in. And more importantly,
that would be in the revision of the amended.
Yeah. And now I just want to go on record is it's my, we want to do that, just what you're saying, but it's important that the DeRosa team is involved in every aspect of this design and this restoration, that we have the comfort of knowing we have somebody out there working for the commission to make sure this thing gets done right. So Salem Country Club is not going to tell us where we can use, where DeRosa's abilities and experience in getting this work done. They don't get to choose where and when DeRosa can work on this project. We want them on every aspect of this restoration plan to be involved in acting on behalf of the Conservation Commission. And with that, I'll say yes. I think you and Mike DeRosa, we can update this enforcement order, but that's a no-brainer to me.
So that would be included, Lucia would have that included in the final enforcement order that she and DeRosa team are going to be coming up with.
Right.
Oh, I like to make that motion that we give her the authority, Lucia and the DeRosa team, to make the amendments to the final executive order. I don't know if that's the correct wording.
I think so.
Sound right?
If I may, it's not going to be the final because we want
Okay.
to make sure that that restoration plan
Right,
is
we gotta
submitted
vote
and
on it.
approved, so we can
Yes.
reference that in the order.
I agree.
Okay. To amend.
Okay,
I
We
think
have
we
a
should
second?
I think we should allow the attorney Fogel to have his piece.
yep.
Yeah, after the motion.
After
Through the chair, I
motion.
just want to clarify this revised plan that, Evan, just so everyone understands this, we're talking about a revised plan showing the, granite bounds, a revised plan showing, the understory plantings like shrubs and smaller vegetation, correct? Is anything else supposed to be on that revised plan that we need?
Well, the bounds are important. The granite markers, we don't want, we don't want them to hinder the play of the game. And that's not the intent. The intent is to provide markers that will identify where the resource areas are. I think there should be markers that identify just outside the area of play that might be, say, where the buffer zone is. For instance, if there was a wet, if there was a wet area that's, let's say there's a wet area that's 50 feet back from the tree line, then the 50 feet that's part of the fairway is in buffer zone, and there may be vegetation in those areas, and we want to make sure that there's demarcation in some manner, that there's no mistake, that they know that that's buffer zone, and that work can't happen in there without permission from the commission or without a permit. And my thought might be if we could have something at the tree line that might identify, the buffer zone is 53 feet from this marker, so that any trees, vegetation, so forth, that's in that area, it may be an area that's used for play, but I'm really kind of thinking more of areas that have a lot of vegetation, tree-wise, that there's no mistake that those trees and that vegetation remains protected unless it's work affecting them comes under a permit, or unless when we get together on a yearly basis to see what the plan that the club has each year, maybe there's some areas they want to trim some branches or something like that. We don't want this to happen again. We don't want the mistake of not knowing there was buffer zone. And there should be markers that identify that in some way, permanent markers. And the city uses granite.
I don't want to design it for anybody, but would the commission be happy if in areas of play, the granite markers were ground level? So you could mow over them and still clean up whatever's around them, or not mow over them and that's the end of it, but they're not sticking up.
I don't want to have a granite bound, in the fairway, even though it's flush. It just.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
When I talk about granite posts, I'm only talking about in like some very minor areas, like where they clear cut linear, not the Trask Road side, the other neighborhood side. I don't know what that neighborhood is. I'm talking about on that tree line. No one's going to be playing in the tree line. I just think that they need to know that's what I'm talking about. I don't want anything anywhere on the grass, whatever, the green or whatever that's called, the fairway. So I think maybe there's a disconnect. I'm not sure.
That's exactly what I said. I don't necessarily have markers in the play, in the fairways. I'm talking about along the tree line that is contained in the buffer zone because it's so many feet from the wetland. I want to see markers along the tree line, maybe down 6 inches or something, maybe they're not sticking up that much, maybe 6 inches, but it's a marker that shows that that the marker could say, buffer zone, 30 feet. So the people that take care of the golf course knows that the trees in those areas are under the jurisdiction of the commission, and that they need permits to cut any more trees down that are in the buffer zone. And I don't want to hear an excuse that they didn't know where it was.
I agree.
Well, why don't we depend on Lucia and
Yeah.
the drone team to incorporate that? And you can have something at our next meeting in writing that we can finally approve. And if there's something you want to add, you can go to that section and add it in. Because that's my suggestion.
Yeah, so I'm reading my personal notes that say we need a revised plan to show the ground at bound markers, location, detail of sign, location is to be determined near woods and some out of play stream areas, and the understory shrub herbaceous layers need to also be shown on these plans. Because remember, there's only one plan we have. I think it's either one or two plans that only show the shrubs. Then we have a list of plans, or a list of plants and herbaceous layers, not to be confused with an actual plan. So I think the actual plan, like what Tony Capichetti just showed us on 190 rear, where he actually, similar to that, what they've already showed us, and they just need to embellish it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a motion to have DeRosa team and Lucia come back with a updated action emergency order.
It would be a second amendment or a third amendment, a third amendment with revised action item.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Yep, and when I said third, I'm wrong, because there was one enforcement order. We amended it once, so this would be a second amendment. Roll call. Chairman Lazaris.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo.
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi.
Yes.
Commissioner Green. Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
And Commissioner Green.
She's muted.
She should be able to unmute herself. Maybe she stepped away. I asked her to unmute. If not, it can pass 5-1 with Amanda not voting. Oh, there she's back.
Yeah, yes.
All right, so 6-0. And did you guys want me to allow Mr. Fogel to speak? He's had his hand up for quite some time now.
Yes.
Yes. Really? Good evening, Barry.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to be promoted to be able to be seen the way every other representative of somebody before you tonight was allowed. And I would like to ask that also that Bill Rocco be promoted as a participant where he can be seen.
I have no problem with that.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm going to wait for that to happen. Thank you.
Okay. One of the things I would require is that you keep your comments short and to the point, so we're not here all night.
Yes, if you had allowed us to participate, we would have been able to walk you through the submittal we made. We would have agreed with 99% of what you've talked about.
Well,
we'd be much farther along than you are now.
Come back, or when Bill, when both of you are online, just give us the stuff you don't agree with.
Well, that was what we submitted, Mr. Chairman. And I just for the record, since this is being recorded, I have to say that it is completely inappropriate that you proceeded in every other matter this evening by allowing every participant to be included as a panelist with video and audio, and you didn't show the Salem Country Club the same due process tonight. So,
Aren't you talking right now, Mr. Fogel? Aren't you on the video and audio?
no, I was not allowed to be
Opportunity.
the entire time. So,
Well,
for
we
the
were-
record, I just wanted that to be on the record. Second.
Okay,
the
thank you for
thing
your
is,
comment.
I don't understand, and we would like to understand what Evan is suggesting, why we had proposed for you to consider in that document the issuance of a final enforcement order that probably would have everything that we've agreed to and that you've directed.
Why don't you let us do that?
That's our job, Barry, not yours.
We know that. What we
Okay, so let us do our work.
Well, and we gave you responses to the things that the peer review consultant that you've
That will
asked
be
the club to
incorporated,
do.
I'm
Can I
sure.
finish what I'm saying, Mr. Athos? You keep interrupting me. I'm making a record here because Lucia made the point that if the club doesn't agree with what you're doing, we have a complaint pending in the Superior Court that we have not yet served. We gave you that document because it had been discussed previously as to whether the no disturb zone issue and the other issues might be included in a separate notice of intent. We got a document back from DeRosa that suggested that you didn't want to go that route. And we gave you a filing last week that said we agreed with that and the Salem Country Club understood it. And therefore, all of the items would be included in this enforcement action. So we agree with the commission on that. Number one. Number two, almost every one of the items that was recommended by DeRosa was included in what the club said in its filing. It would agree with being included in an enforcement order and would not challenge in court. We've already ordered trees. We found out today, in fact, that Mike DeRosa was talking to a nursery and not sharing that information with us. We're paying him to do that, and we don't know that he's doing that. That's not a cooperative process, Mr. Chairman. You said, why don't we work together? We've been working with you on this. We had a meeting with Mike DeRosa and Ben Staples and our arborist.
Your documentation on the chart was that you didn't want anybody out there observing this stuff.
No, that's not at all what we said. And if I'd been able to participate during your discussion, I would have emphasized and made clear the club has no problem and understands why the commission would want DeRosa's people and Ben Staples to be able to be involved in reading the reports, observing what's going on, inspecting the site, and so forth. The words that DeRosa used in what they gave you was supervise and monitor.
That's right.
The club is not going to have DeRosa, the peer reviewer for the commission, supervising its work. They have a licensed forester who put together the planting plan, who can do that. We have no objection to Ben
But you
Staples.
haven't
May I
done
finish?
it.
I
You
need
haven't
to
done it.
finish what I'm saying, Mr. Chairman. I've been watching you for an hour talk about this plan without any participation. We have no problem with Ben Staples communicating with Tom. His input is very valuable. But you're trying to make them the supervisor and the monitor of the work, and that's not appropriate. If they want to be involved in peer review, that's exactly what they can do, and we appreciate their input. So the only distinction we have is in the use of the language of supervising and monitoring it. We don't want to pay DeRosa and Ben Staples to have people out there on a daily basis. It's already cost the club over $30,000 to do this peer review, while they're also paying their own consultants to do the exact same work planning this. So we completely agree that they should be involved and should continue to be involved. Now, second, the reason for that deadline on the tree planting was because we hadn't received anything from you before the last month or so for approval to go ahead. We've now been able to source and locate all of the trees. The only difference is that we had talked about not planting trees in the wetland on number 8 because it would be during the dry season. It would be better to dig the holes then, as probably Ben remembers this discussion, and plant those trees in the fall. So other than I think it's 12 trees in the number 8 wetland, all the other trees are being ordered for planting next month. So that's not an issue anymore. So the only question is the no disturb zone bounds. And in the way you were talking about it tonight, it sounds like you're trying to litter the course with boundary markers, and that's not necessary. Now that we have a full wetland delineation that was performed by Weston and Sampson, the club knows where the buffer zones are. And the plan is that any activities other than mowing, any kind of tree work, will come before Lucia first and the commission if necessary, if there's any reason why it can't be done under the tree policy. So everything that you've talked about and that has been discussed was on that right-hand column in what we gave you and was a point of agreement. It was just the words supervision and monitoring that the club had a problem with. We don't care. They don't have a problem with Ben Staples communicating with Tom Miles, coming out when the trees are being planted and watching. You know, he doesn't have to be there 10 days over a 10-day period, but he can visit as necessary. And so what we would recommend and what we recommended is not that the club's trying to write the enforcement order, but that we reach an agreement on it so that you could issue an enforcement order tonight and the club can deliver to you what we already have. If I could share my screen, I would show you, but we've already gotten figures put together showing where shrubs are spaced among the trees. The problem, as we've said before, is that we don't know where the trees are going to be planted until we can dig the holes. Once the trees are planted and they are geolocated and they will have tags on them as you've asked for, and they will be mulched and have watering bags as you've recommended, then we will know where there's going to be room for shrubs. Right now, it's a guess. And if we show you a figure with X's on them showing where shrubs would go, it's highly unlikely that's where they're going to go. They'll end up among the trees. We have seed mix lists. We have everything you're asking for. And it's been frustrating to watch you kind of cast about how to go about this tonight when we could have had a discussion with you about it. Just as the chairman said at the outset, we are working with you. We've been trying to work with you on this, and we want to finish this process now. We've done the Japanese hops work with cooperation. We've done the removal of the wood chips with input and cooperation. We've done grinding and refilling of the stump holes with sod with your cooperation. This process has gone along exactly how you wanted it to go. But at this point, we just want you to know that we have a licensed forester who can supervise the planting, and we have no problem with Ben Staples observing it. And we will do the monitoring of that planting and report to you on that. And we have no problem with Ben Staples reading those reports and commenting on that. That's the way this process should go. I would like to ask one last question, which is, Evan is suggesting to you that you should not issue a final enforcement order until you have the plan with the shrubs and so forth. My recommendation is, you can do it or not, but my recommendation would have been, before the motion you made and voted on, that you issue a final enforcement order that directs the club within, pick the time, 2 weeks, to give you a submittal of where the no disturb zone markers would go and where the shrubs will be marked on the plans. We have those ready for you. And once you get that for review and approval, just as your recommendations from DeRosa said, you now have something to vote on in April as the approved submittal, and we're going to implement it. I don't see the problem, but delaying it further to take final action, I don't think is necessary. But I just wanted to register for the record that it has been The club has no problem with continuing. We'd like to see a scope and know what it would cost. We had problems with that before, but we know that you're going to want to have DeRosa and Ben Staples looking at the reports for the next 5 years. That's not a problem. We can agree on that. Let's agree on this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a comment regarding to Mr. Fogel.
Go ahead.
Just the idea, Barry, the idea that you mentioned that the permanent markers, when the, I think, and the conservation is the purpose of the permanent markers is more long-term, longer than people are around, that longer than Mr. Rocco's around, longer than the plans may be available in, you know, long term, 50 years more, that markers will be there. How do you respond to that?
It depends on how many markers you're talking about. I listened to Mr. Rizzo talk about having something over near the woods that says that the buffer zone extends 50 feet in some direction. I think you can have a set of plans that show, which we already have before you, with the delineations. You know, if you want to have that recorded, for example, at the registry or something like that. But it's really a question for Mr. Rocco. I mean, I know, and I appreciate that Mr. Rizzo made the point, or maybe it was Lucia, that having ground level markers around the fairways is not a good idea. But, you know, we've already been talking, Bill and I have been talking with our consultants about where no disturb zones would be appropriate. And we have a proposal for the commission ready to go on that. But a lot of markers all over the woods seems inappropriate. You know, the ditches aren't moving, the wetlands aren't moving, the club knows. And if, I don't know, if you wanted to have something on record that said every year, we've talked about this, you know, that you can have a return to compliance letter that gets recorded that says the club needs to come to the commission once a year for a meeting to talk about what's planned in the way of course activities, maybe some areas where trees are going to be trimmed, that kind of thing. I mean, there's a way we can work this out to create what you're looking for, which is continued communication and knowledge on the part of the commission as to what the course is planning to do. I just think that the boundary or markers everywhere is probably a less efficient way to do that than periodic meetings with the commission and the course staff. That's how.
The only question I have is, and I agree with you that meeting on a regular basis to review what is being done is a good idea. But the only question I have is, what if you're now in an area that we have agreed is a buffer zone? What's the recourse? You're already in there. If there was a boundary or some sort of marker, you would know where not to be in.
The course will know not where to be in by having the wetland delineation on file and in front of, I mean, Bill's the superintendent. I think he expects to be there a long time. He's a young guy. But if he's replaced, you know, the new William Shaw is the new COO. He's been briefed and up to date on this. He knows what the delineation is. The club's not going to want to go through anything like this ever again. You can rest assured on that, the same way you don't. And so there's the better way. All I'm saying is my experience and view, and I'd be interested to hear what Mike DeRosa says. He works with golf courses. I don't think he would recommend granite markers everywhere. I've never been on a golf course that
I'm looking for a suggestion then other than granite markers or some sort of permanent demarcation that you would be willing to live with.
I think it's in the return. I think it's in what gets recorded at the registry with the return to compliance letter and a reference to, you know, a wetland delineation that's been done as of 2022. Maybe it's something, and I'm brainstorming. It's a updated wetland delineation that gets done every 7 years.
Let me offer this rather than brainstorm here tonight. Can can you and Bill come back to us with what you currently have ready to submit and get it to Lucia, and let Lucia and Evan and the DeRosa team go over it and be ready to respond before our next meeting?
Yes, I'd actually like to suggest that we do what we did in January, which is meet.
Okay, I mean, it's possible, but let's get the information to
Yeah.
Lucia and Evan, and then we can set up a date to meet.
Yeah, I think we'd like to sit and.
Because I don't want to spend time reviewing what you give us at that meeting. I'd rather do it beforehand.
Well, sure. I mean, but
Okay.
we'd like to know that we can, instead of we send you something and then wait till the April 12th.
No,
meeting to
okay.
hear about
No,
it.
I agree with you. Let's get the information to Lucia and Evan and the DeRosa team, and we will get back to you.
Yeah,
So-
through the
Okay.
chair, through the
Go
chair.
ahead.
I'm just, so it sounds like they're saying they don't want to do any bounds, but
No,
in
that's not what we
B-
said.
Okay, because in B, big B, little b, you say figures will be provided showing proposed granite bound markers and no disturb areas in some areas near intermittent streams for review and approval. And you already gave us in a narrative, a list of a plan, you already gave us areas of where you would put the markers placed where they will not interfere with routine management of the course and golf activities. So if you already agreed to that, why are we like talking about this for 10 minutes?
Because I'll tell you why, because you said you wanted it on a plan. And so what we've done is we've had our wetland scientists put together a plan that uses the delineated wetland boundaries from Weston and Sampson with the flag numbers, so that we can present to you that a no disturb area of X feet will be created from wetland flag N-6 to wetland flag N-17 along the wetland on the south side of hole number 5, just as an example. So we
You already stated that figures will be provided. So, I mean, getting a narrative of where these things are going to be is no help to me.
I'm not saying, if you heard what I said, I didn't say narrative, I said a figure.
All right, so so we don't need to, I feel like the discussion is,
we need to be clear about this. There's a difference between the boundary, the club has agreed to provide granite bounds to mark no disturb areas where they would propose them. What we're talking about previously in response to Mr. Vivaldi's question and Mr. Rizzo's comment earlier was the club does not want to, I'm sure, put granite bounds all around the golf course to indicate where buffer zones are relative to that bound. So the club's proposal was to give you no disturb markers for no disturb areas next to some wetlands and some stream areas. And we have some proposals for that to be shown on plans that are specific to the actual flag numbers that are used in the delineation. So that can be specified rather than just vaguely referenced. So that's that issue. If I could, on the trees before we move on, so we've ordered all of the trees that were on that list. We weren't able to source shagbark hickory. We did contact Pearson's and they've identified that they do have shagbark hickory. So we have all of those. So the only remaining trees that were at issue were the yellow birch and the black birch that had been discussed and agreed to at the meeting and that Ben Staples agreed to. The last hurdle we had with that was that we had previously only found those species in clusters, not 2-inch caliper stems. And Mr. Comack said, oh, you can get those at 12 to 14 feet. We've talked with Pearson's included and Pride's down in Connecticut. They don't come that way. All we've been able to locate are all of the yellow birch and black birch in single stem, which we think, frankly, is better than clusters, but we'll hear what Ben has to say about that. Our guy thinks that's better. Tom Miles, but they're 8 to 10 feet. They're probably 1.5 caliper. That's what's available for yellow birch and black birch. So, there are 33 of those. We're ready to order them. They're available from the Connecticut nursery. And these are the wholesale nurseries that deliver trees to all of the retailers. So, if you give us the approval for that, all of the trees will have been ordered. The only thing that we're going to wait on are the ones that we talked about planting in the fall, because we want to dig the holes for them in the wetland on 8 in the summer dry season. And so we're done with trees if we can get action from you on that tonight.
Yeah, I have no problem with the single stem plants. I agree that single stem plants are probably more desirable in many ways than the multi-stem plants are. If they're under the 2-inch designation that's required, do the math and figure out how many more you need to get to that, whatever that number is. The total diameter inch might require you to buy, 10 extra plants or whatever it is. I'd be satisfied with that. Sure, that's fine.
Now we have to go back and ask how many more they have. But, that's the kind of thing we're trying to get over. We're asking, as I said in the email, that we were asking for approval to order those trees. As somebody said earlier, now's the time to get them. Other people are clamoring for the same trees.
Well, I think you just heard that they're okay. We just need to have you plant additional trees to make up the diameter difference.
Yeah.
So order what you can order and put in an order for more. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. So just to recap, we think that you can actually convert what you've discussed tonight into a final order. I'm happy not to have you, whatever you issue, the course is going to have to look at it and decide. As we sit right now, the deadline for us to serve the complaint that's been pending in Superior Court but unserved is March 27th. If we can get to an order that has everything in it that we've agreed with, that will give you plans for review and approval on no disturb bounds, and a plan showing conceptually where shrubs and what species they are would go. I think I'd like to hear from Ben. You guys have to understand that until we plant the trees, it's guesswork as to where the shrubs will go. The idea is to plant shrubs among the trees and to have them all survive. And just layer seed mix down, and that'll grow up as part of the understory. It makes sense. But, we're going to give you plans. We want you to understand 2 things for your action tonight. One is that the plans you would get are the same ones that show where the trees are, but they'll show where shrubs would be spaced. The premise being they fill in the understory to a certain extent. And the other one is just to be clear between us as to the distinction we're asking for, that the club's forester supervises the tree planting and the shrub planting, that Ben Staples can inspect and comment. And, if he comes out one day to see what's going on, he and Tom Miles can look at the stumps where sprouts are growing and talk about how to coppice them. We appreciate the input. We just didn't want to run into a blank check of what would be supervision and monitoring, and what level of involvement you were anticipating DeRosa's firm and Ben Staples would have. We have no problem with them representing you in sort of oversight, but supervision and monitoring read to us like calling the shots. And that's the one thing that we didn't think was necessary. So we can clarify the language on that. We have an enforcement order that we're not going to appeal. that we don't have to litigate, and we can keep on moving with all the good work that's already gone on and finish the job.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mike.
One, Mr. Fogel, how does SCC respond to their statements that was within the chart that stated something to the fact that you have less, your willingness to see the survival rate of the trees be less than 100%?
Well, we said, we thought that that should be 75%. I mean, that's what you get with, you know, I mean, even in a wetland replication. We just think that it's excessive, but you know, that's the club's response. They thought it would be reasonable that planting these trees, I mean, I do have to say that, you know, obviously the club's consultants thought that this tree canopy issue was not, you know, completely valid as a wetland issue, but they've agreed to go ahead with this. We think 75% is extremely reasonable. That's our position. That's what we responded. As you said, and as Mr. Athas said, that's your call, not ours. We're not writing the enforcement order. We're giving you our response to the comments we got.
Yeah, because we're not going to, excuse me, we're not going to follow that suggestion.
That's fine.
It's important that the trees get replanted. Okay, 233 trees. Now, you know, most projects, almost every project that comes before us, the people who are developing the project or whatever the work is, they more than welcome 2-for-1 plantings. And you guys came back with what we said was the absolute minimum, 2-inch trees, 233, 1-for-1. You didn't offer 2-for-1. We can't afford not to have all those trees grow. We need 100% satisfaction for those trees to grow.
And you know, that's
it's a simple comment. We're going to stick with that.
Hey, I don't get a vote. Neither does Bill. We did what we hoped to do, which was to give you the club's response to the comments from DEC. We understand that it's your decision.
Okay.
I don't think the club would go to court to appeal the difference between 75% and 100% survival. The one thing I think that they would struggle with is how much you're trying to, how you write the language about the participation, the further participation of DeRosa Environmental and Ben Staples. And I think I've tried to be clear that if there's language in there that says that they do sort of review and comment and inspect as opposed to supervise and monitor, those two words just jumped out as us as being too big, you know, too much.
We can work on that wording. It's important that they're there.
Yeah.
It's important that they're there. Now, and you know, 8 different times in the list here, I don't want to go through the list, you kind of pushed back and rebutted on some of those suggestions. And you know, to the point where you said that they don't even need to be there. You know?
No, we didn't say they didn't need to be there. We said they didn't need to be there as often as it seemed like you were proposing. I mean, supervising, you know, sounded like you thought Ben Staples was going to be on site for 10 straight days. We don't need him there 10 straight days, and you don't either. We have our people there, the forester who wrote the plan there. If Ben Staples swings by 2 days, you know, or talks to Tom Miles and said, I'm coming by Thursday, can you be there? I mean, that's what we want, expect to do, is to continue to cooperate in that way. It was just a matter of the way we wrote our response was to make it clear so that we could have this discussion of, we just don't think the club needs to pay double for 2 arborists to be there all the time and 2 wetland people to be there all the time. That's the issue.
Through the chair, we still have one more item on the, it's getting late and there's one person or one applicant still, or one violator still in the audience. We've already made our motion. So The faster I can get that enforcement order drafted, a second amended enforcement order drafted, the faster I can get it to Attorney Fogel, and then he'll have time to review it and, go to Superior Court. That's really like his deadline at court is really none of our business.
I'm suggesting that you don't have to issue another document. We know what you want. We've heard you tonight. You want, we will give you what we would suggest is that you don't issue another document and wait to issue a final order after you get the shrub figures, the seed mix information, and
Through the chair, I do not agree with that. I think we need to go this amended, a second amendment, and then you can keep on amending and amending and amending and amending and amending. So I don't understand why he is pushing back on that. And I definitely suggest we need to rewrite these. Period. And you already made the motion. So unless someone wants to take that motion back, can we continue this to next month?
Yes.
Move to continue.
Second. Do I have a second to continue?
Yeah, I second that. I thought I made the motion, but okay.
I heard Arthur made the motion, seconded by Rizzo. Roll call. Chairman Lazares.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo.
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
No.
Commissioner Colmack.
Yes.
And Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
So that was to continue it, Amanda. You realize that? You don't want to continue this?
Nope. I just I want them to be able to order the trees, and I'm like, to be honest with you, I'm kind of totally confused right now about what the hell's going on. Like, I just really think it's important for them to be able to order the trees.
Well, did we?
That's happening.
I thought we said that. I thought they could do that.
All right. Yeah.
We said they could. We agreed they could order trees if they were smaller in size than we want. They should order additional trees. That's what we said.
Okay, okay, well, are they agreeing to order the additional trees?
It's up to them, really, right? Just a few extra, it was 28 trees.
He said
Five.
he'd have to look into it, just to see if they had it. They didn't.
Is it through the chairs, my understanding that you can't get 2-inch birch trees?
That's correct.
Can you get
Yes,
3-inch birch trees? Can you get 3-inch birch trees?
No, they're smaller. They don't come bigger. They're all less than 2-inch.
So my only concern might be that I don't want to see these stick figures.
No, they're 1.5 inches. They're just by the time the fall comes, they'll be 2 inches. I mean, if we get them planted now, they're going to grow. So
okay.
I think what I would suggest is all we're really asking for right now is if your vote to authorize the club to order the birch in that size and height, they will get those. They'll plant those in April, and then other trees can be planted during the season. And so if we can locate more of them, we'll true up the math as Ben was talking about.
Okay, Evan, can I ask you, does that sound okay to you? It sounds.
What does Bruce say?
I just find it hard to believe they can't get them that big, but whatever. I haven't been looking for those. I definitely haven't looked for that species of birch. So I will tell you that.
I will add that when we spoke to Pearson's, he said to Bill in an email, "Are you working with Mike DeRosa?" So Mike was already talking to him and didn't let us know that, but he said
it was one phone call. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, Evan, but what Pearson said was, Mike said that those sizes were fine. So we were told by Pearson's that someone from DeRosa, whether it was Mike or you, said that should be fine. The 1.5, less than 2-inch caliper on the birches.
So are we not allowed to call tree companies?
No, but we're paying your third-party reviewer to do stuff. If he's billing us for it, or if Evan is. we'd
Who
like to
said that
know-
you were getting billed? Who told you? Did the guy at the store tell you you were getting billed because of this?
You want to know what? It's been a month since we got an invoice from DeRosa, where there was an agreement to get it every 2 weeks. You sent us a reminder that we're down to $2,000. We still haven't seen an invoice for a month. I don't know that Evan didn't include or Mike didn't include time calling Pearson's on a bill. I won't know that till I get a bill for the club later.
So then why don't we deal with that when that mysterious invoice shows up and not waste our time with this right now? Because we don't need to be, being rude to each other about a telephone call, a
No
simple
one's being
telephone call.
rude. We're making the point that,
There's no
that the
point.
chairman asked, why aren't we cooperating? And then we find out
That's
only
right.
by talking to Pearson's that your peer reviewer has been calling them. Why
Look.
in the world wouldn't Evan have said, you sent us an email, Lucia said, have you called Pearson's? Turns out you probably knew that Evan had already called Pearson's.
Yeah, maybe I've called like 50 places too. Am I
Well,
not
if you
allowed
found-
to do that?
No, but if you found some trees or were checking with them and you found some that worked, it would have been nice for us to know.
Which is why I sent you the email.
No, you didn't say, I talked to Pearson's and they may have your trees. You said, have you talked to Pearson's? The bottom line is that this is the issue. We understood from Pearson's that the folks from DeRosa told them that that size birch would work. Bill's ready to order them tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Order them, will you?
Thank you. We just want to
Order
know.
them and stop discussing what happened. In the future, I want you guys to cooperate and get this. Just do it, okay? And as far as the enforcement order goes, let's see what they come up with and we'll review that next month. Okay?
With a meeting in between then and now, correct?
Yes.
I do that. Okay.
Well,
good.
why do we need this another meeting again?
Because it's a lot easier to sit down like we did with Ben and Mike. We got so much done. Looking at plans and figures, talking about species. Ben and Tom Miles may have thoughts about different shrubs that work. So all we want to do is get together with Ben and Mike or Evan or whoever, but mostly Ben, to talk about the species and that kind of stuff. And we just get a lot more done. We don't even have to have a meeting. Can you just authorize Ben to meet with us? And we can get some stuff done. That's what we just don't want to show up in April and then find out that, you have different thoughts. We'd like to work it out between now and then. Keep this thing going.
I think we should just end it there. So the trees are going to be ordered. How many of these? 28, you said?
33,
33.
21 yellow and 12 black birch.
So it's agreed. And order a few extra just for the hell of it.
We will.
All right, so we can talk offline about a new meeting via email. So Amanda, going back to you, are you now voting with the continuance vote or are you still a no?
Yeah, yes, continue.
Yes, so they are ordering, I thought that maybe you missed it, but I thought they've always had permission. We made a motion last month for them to start ordering trees.
Yeah, but it was.
But we really have to move on. We can't
Mr.
keep
Comack
having this
had-
back and forth. We really need to
Mr.
move on, guys.
Comack had insisted on a height and we just wanted. We just
Barry,
wanted to make
order the
clear
tree-
that they aren't going to come
Barry.
in that height.
Barry, order the trees
Thank you. That's what we were looking for. That's why we came for that approval.
and order some extras in case these aren't big enough. And just report back to us what you ordered. That's all.
What we were
Okay.
looking for. Thank you. Can we
So
get
we
an
have a motion?
invoice? Can we get an invoice for the peer review, please?
How much would you like?
And it's been sent.
It's been sent?
Okay.
Yes.
For 2 weeks ago? Okay. We didn't get one in the middle of February.
All right, let's move on.
We move on. Are we done with the Salem Country Club, people?
Yeah, motion to continue. We did that, right?
We
Yeah.
did that. We'll see you next month. And we expect to hear from you, Barry, regarding whatever plans you're gonna send to Lucia. And Lucia and Evan will be able to review it and get back to us if we need a meeting, okay? Moving on.
Good night, commissioners.
Thank you.
I lost my agenda.
Going on to item 9, which was continue. I mean, the Maya tree. Maya tree.
Yeah, I can read, if you want to read the Meyer tree one, please do.
A continued order, enforcement order issued to Dan Meyer for the following activities: removal of living trees, grubbing stumps and buffer zones in close proximity to jurisdictional resource areas, and depositing wood chips in buffer zones and along local riverfront woods. The property address is known as 133 Forest Street, Peabody. And go ahead, Chairman.
Move to continue.
We have a motion do we have a motion to continue?
Move to continue.
Second,
Until
Second.
April? Till April.
I'm sorry?
To just a date specific, April meeting, continue the April meeting.
Second on that.
Roll call,
Chairman Lazaris,
yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes,
Commissioner Comac,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athos.
Yes,
I'm sorry, who made that motion again?
I mean, I did.
And who seconded it?
I did.
All right, sorry. I was trying to send the invoice. I was multitasking because the invoice literally just came in.
Yes.
We're up to item
10.
10, yes?
Yeah.
Thank you. Continued enforcement order was issued to Alfred DeMambro, trustee, Regency Realty Trust, for work located at 1113 Wallace Street. There are ongoing as well as historic violations on this property. Illegal dumping, appliances, stockpiling of various items in the riverfront floodplain, and fill in the FEMA floodplain, alteration of the riverfront without permit, and ongoing use as what appears to be a contractor's yard. We did do a site visit, and we got a new letter from Chip,
Concrete
and
footing.
it sounds like, huh? Of course, I can't find the letter, but can I promote Chip? There you are. Take it away.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Yes, I think we had after last month's meeting, I'm representing Regency Realty Trust. After last month's meeting, we had a very productive site visit. We staked out the floodplain, and members and the engineer, as well as the city solicitor, joined us, and we were able to see the site. We were able to identify where the floodplain was, identify certain piles. We reached an agreement in terms of the things that we should be doing. I reduced that to a letter last week, and Lucia called me and reminded me that I missed the catch basin. So well, you have two letters in front of you. One last week has 5 points, and then the one today is the same exact letter, except it has a 6th point, which is to clean out and maintain the catch basin that's in front of the post office. But if I could just briefly go through the points, is that the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put straw wattles around the slope where there are a couple of piles until those are removed. The second thing is, so we've agreed we'll place all contractor yard materials and equipment outside the floodplain, which has been shown on the plan. Third, we're going to remove those existing piles that straddle the floodplain that are up near the center of the property within the next 45 to 60 days. It may even be, weather permitting, it probably will be before the next meeting. But I wanted to just make sure that I had enough time. Fourth, there's an area down by the river/canal where there's already an earthen berm. We're going to continue that berm with a wattles, not with hay bales, and we identified where that will be. The fifth is we're going to hand pick and as a matter of fact, the Mambros have already picked that area over by the post office a couple of times. It's just trash from the people who are, trespassing on the site, but it's unsightly, and we've cleaned it up with several bags and taken that away. And then the last is to clean and maintain the catch basin, which is on the other side of the gate on the post office side, periodically, and to keep it clear of debris. So what we're hoping to do tonight would be for you to accept that letter and that what I call a plan. Then we'll come back to you in May or in April, whenever I don't have to be behind the Salem Country Club, and then report to you that we've done everything that we've said, and hopefully then we can make the enforcement order go away.
Thank you. I would just add a caveat that depending upon what we find when you take the dirt away, we may have to revisit this.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I appreciate the fact that your client is willing to fix the problem. That's admirable. Thank you very much.
That's what we'd like. That's what we like to do. I think the best thing that we did was have the site visit so we could all understand what the facts were out there. So.
Oh, yeah. I guess I'm looking for a motion to accept the latest letter, including item 6, and move on. Can I hear a motion to accept the letter? Amanda, yes. Second?
Yeah.
Second.
Roll call?
Yep, motion made by Amanda, seconded by Arthur. Roll call, Chairman Lazaris.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes,
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
All right, so that has been accepted.
Then the last thing I think we need to do is just continue the hearing. We could do April or May, either one. I believe the work will be done by the April meeting, but that's your call.
Let's do this. Let's continue it till April. And if you need an extension, just let Lucia know you need another month. Okay?
Perfect.
Motion to continue till April.
motion to continue.
seconded.
Second. Thank you, Amanda.
All right, that
Roll
motion was made by Mr. Rizzo, seconded by Ms. Green. Roll call, Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yeah.
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
All right, so it's continued until April.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
thank you.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Lisa. Sorry for making you wait.
That's okay. I got some other things done. Thank you.
All right, moving on to other items. I need approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. There a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Seconded.
Roll call?
Yep, Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes,
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Anybody have anything else they want to discuss?
oh,
No, thank you.
It's been my pleasure.
I made it, Lucia.
Do we have a motion to adjourn, please?
We
Motion to
gotta wait-
adjourn.
We gotta wait till midnight for that.
Do I have a motion? Mike Rizzo
Motion to
second?
adjourn, yeah.
Do I have a second?
second.
All right, I am gonna do a roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Comac,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
All right, so it is the meeting. Oh my goodness, wow! We can't go any longer after 10 because I lose my mind. The meeting is adjourned at 10:23. Thank you, everybody, and thank you so very much, PAT, as well.
All right. Good
Good
night,
night,
everybody.
I
Good night.